a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, January 23rd. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history, and Donald J. Trump is your president. Let's kick it off. We got a whole show planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. If President Trump has his way, the auto industry's transition to electrical vehicles will soon slam into reverse. Joining us to give us some insight is White House correspondent John Decker. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning to you. Thanks for having me on today.
So let's talk about what President Trump plans to do, signing executive orders, revoking Biden-era EV targets. Give us some insight.
Well, if you bought an electric vehicle, a car or light truck last year, you likely had the benefit of a $7,500 tax subsidy from the federal government. And that's going away as a result of executive action taken by Donald Trump. And so the big question is what impact this may have on the auto industry that has focused on electric vehicles quite a bit over the last few years. And we'll see whether those sales decline as a result of that federal tax subsidy going away.
Talking to John Decker, White House correspondent. So, John, you got to help me understand this a little bit, because I am a diesel Dodge Ram truck rancher. So the EV side of things is kind of like speaking another language. But I have looked a little bit at the hybrids. Is there a difference in these mandates between an EV and a hybrid? Yeah,
there's a big difference. We're talking about straight up electric vehicles. And auto manufacturers have invested a lot in this technology in terms of R&D over the course of the past decade. And for some auto companies, that bet hasn't paid off. Yes, Tesla certainly is the leader of the pack. But the question is, will demand for Teslas, particularly the least expensive Tesla model, will that demand decline with that $7,500 help from the government going away?
John Decker, NBC national correspondent, joining Jeff and Bill live. Let's talk about Elon Musk, Tesla, and this subsidy going away. Do you think Elon Musk is going to push back? Have you heard anything about it? Because Tesla has suffered its first ever year-over-year sales decline. They are being chased by a lot of national manufacturers and international. BYD right now is eating Tesla's lunch. Now Tesla's become more expensive in the market when Elon has already been slashing prices. He can't move Cybertrucks right now. He's slashing the prices on every model in the final quarter in order to boost sales, and it didn't help. How is Elon Musk, in your opinion, or what you've seen so far, going to react to this move by Trump? Does it create friction?
Well, Elon Musk has been asked about this even before Donald Trump took this action within the past few days. And he says, now remember, he's a salesperson for his company, but he says that it will not impact demand for Teslas, that even if that $7,500 help from the government goes away, it will not impact the amount of Teslas that are sold, not only here in the U.S., but also abroad. That's what he says. We'll see if that there's a change of heart as a result of this $7,500 tax credit going away. But, that's Elon Musk, and he is the person who really is the face of the electric industry.
Talking with John Decker, White House correspondent. John, last question. What's going to happen with those Biden charging stations that were slated to be built? Any insight on that?
Well, they're all a part of what was passed in the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so big question is all that money been spent? If that money has been spent and earmarked for those charging stations, then those charging stations will indeed be completed. If that money has not been spent, that is something that the Trump administration likely will try to claw back.
John Decker, White House correspondent, joining the Jeff and Bill show. Thanks so much for taking time to give us an update on President Trump and these electric vehicles and how things may be changing.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Great to hear from John Decker. He's had a busy week, too.
Oh, he's had a real busy week, and he spent so much time with us. We really appreciate it. That's interesting that, of course, Elon's going to say it's not going to impact him.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
I don't at all. And in fact, in the last 48 hours, a series of Polaris dealerships, and that's a direct competitor to Elon's Tesla, have said they are seeing much higher foot traffic. Again, they didn't give percentages, and they could be doing a sales pitch as well. But they are saying much higher foot traffic inside their dealerships of people who want an EV, but absolutely do not want a Tesla. I've been seeing things as far as investments and other people that are Tesla fans online saying that Elon's erratic behavior is driving them away from buying a Tesla. There is a cottage industry right now of bumper stickers that people are creating for their Teslas that said, I bought this before Elon went crazy. And the people printing those bumper stickers are making money hand over fist. I'm surprised that Elon's like, no, not going to affect us at all, especially since Elon was cutting the prices of his own Teslas in Q4 last year because sales softened so significantly. And of course, we know the problem with the Cybertruck and getting sales. Virtually all of his much touted reservation list evaporated once he doubled the price of that vehicle, which, by the by, I don't know if you've seen this on social media. If you paint a Tesla, looks like every kid's 5th grade Pinewood Derby car. It does.
The Cybertruck?
Yeah, Cybertruck.
Yeah,
you paint it, looks like a Pinewood Derby car. And what I've seen people going in there with Photoshop and just painting over the sides of it. And you're like, oh yeah, it does. It looks like
funny.
You paint it, beige, you do some grays, you put some racing stripes on it and stuff. You give the all black wheels. Yeah, looks like a Pinewood Derby car. I hadn't picked that out until now. I always thought it looked like a Lego truck to me, but yeah.
So I can understand that to a certain consumer, the electric car makes sense, right? Like, let's say you live within maybe 5 to 15 minutes of where you work. You just basically live and play and eat and grocery shop all within a 30-minute radius of your world of where you live. And every night you go home and you plug your car in and all that stuff. That makes sense. Why they don't appeal to me is, one, they don't even plow the roads out where I live. So, all the challenges of living way out in rural Colorado, sometimes even my big diesel Dodge Ram 3500 can't get out of the snow out there. So electric car doesn't make sense. I want to have access to diesel and gasoline. We go camping, we go drive, we travel a lot. So having to just stop and park your car and wait for it to charge, that doesn't make any sense. So I get if you live a certain kind of lifestyle, electric car makes sense. Now, hybrids, hybrids, I seem to get the appeal on because you got access to gasoline, and then you just charge a battery while you drive around.
Yeah,
so it seems like the best of both worlds.
Now, some of the batteries, do have 350 mile radiuses, so it could be, you wouldn't be charging every day necessarily based on battery. And, you do have the Tesla Cybertruck. That should get you through the snow. The other one is the Ford F-150 Lightning. And that one, if you're talking about versus the diesel, I believe it has better power as far as horsepower and better torque than the diesel model does. But it's much more expensive. And it does seem, the F-150 Lightning seems somewhat impractical. I think that car manufacturers made a mistake by going big rather than going small. Because if you look at the success of the Chinese BYD, you look at some of the other companies out there, they're having success with the smaller cars because it made more sense, because that's what people you're talking about, the short-term commute. I think you identified the number one problem, and that is stopping to charge. Yeah. It is the lack of available charging stations. And we had a story a couple of weeks ago.
Is it the lack of them or the time? It's just I've watched some of these videos and I'm like, all right, I'll come back in 2 hours when this
time is an issue. But the issue is, think about this. It would be different if you had a charging station as often as if every gas station also had a charging station. It might be viewed differently because it would be easier. You wouldn't be letting your battery go all the way down to zero. You may be charging at half. You may be charging at 3/4. You may just charge the top off for a while. Also, it seems to be more efficient if you do put the Tesla Powerwall or even just have the adapter at home than if you're charging through the Tesla superchargers. We saw a study, I think I brought it up in You Choose the News last week, where a study showed that Tesla drivers, especially Cybertruck drivers that are using the fast charging station, are seeing a significant degradation in battery life. It's not holding the charge as long, nor is it filling as quickly. So the supercharger isn't necessarily solving the problem. So that's it. You're right, though. Sitting there and plugging in the car and having to wait for, at minimum, 20 minutes, if not hours, makes it to be a real problem because you wouldn't stand at the gas station for 20 minutes or 2 hours. And there was recently a guy who went on I want to say it was a 2,000 or 2,500 mile trek across part of the country. And he said, and it was in a Tesla Cybertruck, he said he will never, ever, ever do it again because every 2 hours, based on the model that he had to stop and charge. Imagine every 2 hours driving, you had to find a gas station. That would be untenable for the vast majority of drivers. And that, to me, that's the barrier. That's the barrier that we're going to have to get over. So we'll see. That's going to be the problem. I think it's charging stations versus everything else. But, I still, let's see what happens if BYD or other companies eventually get into the market. It could be a sea change as far as what's going on because there's some out there that are fantastic. The other part, though, is here's the thing we don't think about the EVs. They're heavier. They're heavier than regular cars. And so the wear and tear on our roadways is really significant. When you talk about changing all to Tesla semis and even just EV cars, they're much, much, much heavier. So the average wear and tear on your road is going to be more significant. So that means that our tax money is going to have to spend more time repairing those roads. And that is a big problem that I don't think the EV world has really dealt with yet. And I don't think the average consumer understands that either.
This is from the White House that the executive order to eliminate the electric vehicle mandate and promote true consumer choice, which is essential for economic growth and innovation by removing regulatory barriers to motor vehicle access by ensuring a level regulatory playing field for consumer choice in vehicles by terminating, where appropriate, state emission waivers that function to limit sales of gasoline-powered automobiles, and by considering the elimination of unfair subsidies and other ill-conceived government-imposed market distortions that favor EVs over other technologies and effectively mandate their purchase by individuals, private businesses, and government entities alike by rendering other types of vehicles unaffordable. So where do you fall on all this? Do you appreciate the EV mandates when they're in? Was that a good move to stem global warming and encourage the future of automobiles? Or was it progressive interference with the free market in an effort to push a progressive agenda that ended up making other cars more expensive, and it wasn't a free market, fair market out there? Give us a call. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Jeff, welcome back.
Dude, I'm glad you can hear me.
I know, man.
You were doing these great reports, and I was like ready to dive in, and then I was like,
we should tell the audience about that, because other than the first day that you were gone, we didn't talk about it because you don't really necessarily always point to the warts when you're having outages and internet and stuff like yesterday. But Blake couldn't hear a single thing Jeff was saying the entire time. So I would have to sit behind the scenes, and when Jeff would go, and now news and comment with Blake Olson, I would have to say, oh, Blake, I'm going to say, Blake, your mic's hot. And so I would have to tell him to get him on the air. And the best conversation that Blake and I had off the air is Blake tells me, The show's really weird when I can't hear Jeff. It's like you're just having this internal monologue the entire time, like some sort of psychopath in a movie.
And we had some great guests too. You had John Fab swinging by and Jeff Crank. And then
I saw
Darren
the video.
Wheatley.
They were great on video. I just couldn't hear them.
I know. We just couldn't bring it. And meanwhile, text messages are coming in. We love Blake. More Blake on the show. And I'm like,
man,
they love
funny.
you out there, man.
That's funny. Yeah, Billy and I were talking, and I'm like, all I heard was, yeah, I don't agree with that. Actually, well, no, if you look at this, it was awesome. Hey, and by the way, those Pinewood Derby trucks, great point by Billy. Those things are great in the mud.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. I know a guy up here. He is swearing by that thing, man. He is in the mud all the time. And he said his 350 or whatever he has, but similar to yours. He said it does things that those trucks can't do. So
nice.
Yeah, so you may want to look at a used one, and figure out how to charge the
and figure out how to charge the thing and all that. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Great to hear your voice, man. This is gonna be a great day to hear the show. Love hearing Billy solo though. 12 degrees, partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 32. Our top story.
You look at crime, you look at what's gone on at the border, you look at what's going to happen, the crime that's going to happen. But I think we got there just in the nick of time. But we still have you covered better than anybody. We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands. We have
the president on with Hannity last night. Multiple reports say DJT is getting ready to send 10,000 troops to the southern border. An internal government memo reportedly says the troops will help Border Patrol agents to shut off access to asylum in the U.S. and will use Department of Defense bases to hold illegals awaiting deportation. Last night, the Defense Department confirmed that it was sending an additional 1,500 active duty troops to the border on top of the 2,500 service members already stationed there. A man is facing charges after attempting to enter West High School carrying a knife. DPS says that they spotted the man last Thursday in a parking lot near West 11th Avenue and Galapagos Street. The man was asked to leave, but allegedly pulled a knife and made stabbing gestures before running away. Police arrested 34-year-old Carlos Robles Miranda on suspicion of felony menacing and possession of a controlled substance. The city of Denver, deputy director of the mayor's homeless initiative, told the city council committee Wednesday that their goal is to put 2,000 people into permanent housing this year. That's on top of the 2,000 the city hopes to move off the street and into temporary housing. The city plans to end the lease at a Globeville hotel used for temporary shelter in March and move the money saved toward additional permanent housing. DJT defending the almost 1,500 pardons given to the defendants charged in the connection to the J6 FBI tour of the Capitol. Last night on Hannity, once again, he talked about those bogus preemptive pardons Corrupt Joe gave to deep state globalist commies.
I went through 4 years of hell by this scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won, but I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that.
And the Wokety Woke Bishop Buddy on The View Wednesday. Here's Anna Navarro first.
I was struck by your tone. You were so gentle. You were so respectful. You were very demure and very mindful.
Mm-hmm. Mindful.
You said all of this with Trump, J.D. Vance, and their families, including Melania, an immigrant, and Usha Vance, a child of immigrants.
Legal with an L.
Sitting there.
Right.
And their reactions were very visible for all of us to see. You could see their faces. Were you paying attention to how your message was received by them in that moment? And do you think it sunk in even a little bit?
Great question, by the way. You're incredible, Anna.
I've been preaching for a long time, and I've long since given up trying to read people's body language as I'm preaching.
That's a good thing.
Because I would be wrong most of the time. So I don't know. I was aware that obviously people were listening, but I couldn't allow myself in that moment I just had to keep going.
Oh, hell no. Excuse me, get lost.
This chick has a son who worked for Obama. She's a total lefty activist, lives extremely well in a suburb of the swamp, and she is cashing in. God bless her. 7 San Antonio, Texas police officers are injured after being shot while attempting to contact a barricaded suspect last night. Police Chief William McManus said the officers were responding to a call of a potential suicide in progress when they arrived at an apartment complex in North San Antonio. A new fire in Southern California has residents on edge again. The Hughes fire erupted Wednesday morning north of LA. At last check, just over 10,000 acres had burned. The new fire comes as firefighters continue to work on getting full containment in the deadly Palisades and Eaton fires. The FDA says more than a dozen cats have been killed or sickened by bird flu in raw food products. Once again, we've been talking about this for 3 days. The feds, who nobody trusts, are now investigating how the virus got into the pet food supply chain. Cases have popped up in Colorado, California, Oregon, and Washington State. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Kings at the Nuggets tonight. The Jets over the Avalanche last night, 3-2. Huge win for CSU Hoops last night, 75-72 over Boise State. It's 10 in Castle Rock, 9 in Lafayette, and 12 in Denver, and it is Thursday. And Jeff is back with Billy.
Old white guys, good old white guys, young white guys.
Blake Olson, the News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll be a quiet day here in Denver and along the Front Range, just chilly. Temperatures will reach the lower to mid-30s under partly cloudy skies, clear in teens tonight. Briefly warmer Friday. Could sneak into the lower to mid-40s. However, Friday night, a cold front comes in, lows mid-teens. Late Friday night, snow showers developing. Then a good chance of snow Saturday. With lingering light snow into Saturday night, colder. There's going to be some snow accumulations from late Friday night through Saturday night. Low Saturday night, single digits, highs only 20s Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Back in the studio after a wild trip to Washington, D.C. Even got to see folks on the plane home last night. Wayne Laugesen, his beautiful wife, Dee Dee. He's the editorial editor of the Gazette. Saw Tim Leonard. Saw Lauren Boebert staffers. We were all heading back, having fun, high spirits. Want to talk to you about my good friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan is pro-life, pro-faith, pro-family, pro-America. He gets it, and he stands with you with your values. But more than that, Dan is a real winner in the courtroom, and I think he's a winner because of his values. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Listen to this, it gets better. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. In fact, Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Look, if I was ever in an injury case, Dan would be my first call. Absolutely, 100%. Put his phone number in your phone right now. Here we go. 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551. Or hit dancamplislaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Let's check in on those phones.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Dwayne here in a second. Had a guy on line, too, that called in and wanted to check me on the EV bumper stickers. The Eli bought this before Elon went crazy. A guy said he's driven all over the place, seen a lot of the EVs, and he hasn't seen any one of those bumper stickers. So he doesn't think they exist. And that's okay, because as Peter Boyles used to say, that's like saying that all Indians walk in a straight line because the ones that I saw did. What way? If you do look at it, Tesla sold nearly 7 million vehicles over the history, so you may not have run into all of them. But there is some easy research you can do. And on Amazon, I bought this Tesla before Elon went crazy. Near the end of last year, was the number 3 highest selling bumper sticker on Amazon at that time. Oh shoot, I just disconnected Dwayne by accident. Dwayne, call us back. I'm so sorry. That's my fault. So it was the number 3 selling sticker, and it was the number 7 selling sticker. The company that's responsible for the brand that is number 3 said that it was slow sales at first, but once they pictures started circulating on social media, now sales are going gangbusters. However, understand that also in that top 10 list are Donald Trump stickers, 45, 47 stickers, he's back stickers. So there's a mix. It's not just the only. I'm going to go see if this is Dwayne. So there is, I'm not saying it's on every Tesla. I'm saying, but they're out there. It's the number 3 most popular bumper sticker and the most 7 popular bumper sticker on Amazon.
Oh, interesting. All right. Look, do you know a high school student who has passion for engaging in culture and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics with an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. Let's go to the phones. Dwayne Divide. Good morning, Dwayne. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, gentlemen. About some of the Teslas and the F-150 Lightnings, there's a gentleman on YouTube, Hoovie, H-O-O-V-I-E-S, Hoovie's Garage. He bought a Ford F-150.
He's fantastic. Yes, he's fantastic. I know him. Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you'd ever seen his F-150 towing video where he went from 200 miles of range to 30 and barely made it back home because he had a trailer behind him with a 1919 Model T. That didn't go over well. And also, much like George Costanza, in this cold weather, batteries shrink as far as power levels go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, so you're sitting out there going, I got time, I got this. And all of a sudden your battery's down to 40%. Plus the fact you got to plug it into your house with all the new wiring and everything else. It's quite expensive.
In fact, Dwayne, the fact that the battery, life degrades in cold is one of the major reasons that I have told members of my family and in our family, we have not purchased an EV. We do need kind of just a daily, 15-mile, 20-mile car that can go back and forth. It's no big deal. We need that. But because of the degraded battery life in the cold, we have not gone to an EV. We're looking at the hybrids because of it. You're absolutely right. And it's a huge problem inside of the EVs universally.
Well, that and like the Rivian, what is hydroformed. So once it gets hit, you can't sit there and just cut the piece out and put it in. It has to be a whole hydroformed water and steel compression item. They just basically write them off. And that's why the insurance is so high on EVs besides the battery life. The whole situation is they're neat, but they're basically an adult RC car. Drive them around, have a little fun, look smug, and that's about it.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that's a great description. Now, guys, help me understand why the environmentalists haven't picked up on all of the mineral mining that takes place and are concerned about, slave labor in Africa with regards to that to create these batteries. Is it overblown? Is it something that doesn't really take place?
Well, I'm not the furthest on world political issues, although I'm trying. But eventually, everybody has to basically put their head in the sand and go, no, 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 no. I don't care about how the batteries are made. No, no, no. All the different Chinese labor that's being done, everything else. If we were to really be brutally honest, a friend of mine has one of the very first Teslas, the little Sportster one. And when he said it was $30,000 to replace the batteries for the second time, that's $60,000. That's a lot of money to put into a car where I can drop an engine in for $6,000 and have it run for 150,000 miles without too much trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And basically get ROI on about 3 cents a gallon.
And you're right. And you're right, Dwayne, because if you go, one of my stupid hobbies when I'm sitting there and passively watching TV is that I go and I search all the car sales websites, just something I picked up for my dad. I just do it for fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I go and I search the EVs. And one of the games I play is I put in certain mileage caps. And it's funny to see about the time in which the companies believe that you're going to have to replace those batteries. Oddly enough, 10,000 miles before that, all those EVs come up for sale. You're absolutely right. That is an enormous problem with them. There's something that I have seen, though, that, and this is kind of a marketing thing. There's a marketing guy that I watch that he's come forward and he said that recently there's been sort of a trend for some people that are more wealthy to buy the EV because the EV is a status symbol. And they're saying they're trading in things like Jaguars and high-end BMWs and things like that. Not Rolls Royces, but trading in the German manufacturers and that level of car to get an EV because, in part, and this is the crazy thing that just broke my mind for a second, because of the base impracticability of it, because of the problems you have in the cold, because of the problems you have charging. That if you have this EV, it means you can afford that kind of inconvenience. It's almost like, and the way that he drew it out, and I think it was a brilliant example, was it's like a person that owns a Ferrari in London. Phenomenally impractical car, but the reason you drive a Ferrari around London is because you want to tell everybody else, I can own a Ferrari and I can have the most impractical, dumb-ass car to drive around London, and what you going to do about it? So there's they say this is a weird push. Now, it's not a significant part of the market, but it's a weird part of the market that even downgrading to something that's not a Tesla, another, just a regular EV is viewed in some classes as a luxury item because it is so impractical.
They're the Kyle Clark fans. Dwayne, thanks so much.
Hey, hold on, guys. Hold on.
Okay, one more.
Don't forget, the South Park did the whole smugness on driving around in Prius many years ago.
Oh, yes.
And that would make sense entirely perfectly there.
Totally would,
so, if I'm going to be smug, I'm going to do it the way I'm supposed to. I'm going to get another Viper, rebuild the motor, and go out, smoke tires, and have a good time. Gentlemen, have a great weekend.
Hey, thanks,
so
Dwayne.
Great
Appreciate
for
you, man.
Want to talk to you about my friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. Look, it's not too late to kick off a New Year's resolution. Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You'll feel more confident, more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there is no one I trust more in hair restoration. Their simple FUE treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. Simply put, Advanced Hair's exceptional standard of care makes your comfort and your results their top priority. So celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. Discover what meeting your New Year's resolution could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts, all analyzing Trump's executive orders. This one, repealing Biden's electronic vehicle mandate. Join the conversation at 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump announcing that he is sending at least 1,500 active duty troops down to the U.S.-Mexico border to help Border Patrol keep illegal migrants and drugs out of the country. This is just one of the many actions that President Trump has taken to crack down on illegal immigration through a flurry of executive orders he signed shortly after he took office. Tom Homan, the White House border czar, has already started rounding up illegal migrant criminals in targeted attacks across the nation as the mass deportation plan is well underway, with Trump giving ICE agents the green light to arrest illegal migrant criminals at churches and schools, directing the agency to use common sense. Migrants who had already been approved to travel to the United States before a deadline next week won't be making the trip after all. That's because President Donald Trump has suspended America's refugee resettlement program, canceling the trips and mass migration of thousands of migrants who are coming into the country under the lax immigration policies of the Biden-Harris administration. The suspension was in an executive order signed by Trump. In an email, the U.S. agency overseeing refugee processing and arrival told staff and stakeholders that, quote, refugee arrival to the United States has been suspended until further notice. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Talking Trump's EV mandate repeal. Get out of here. Welcome back. Diesel, natural gas, gasoline, drill, baby, drill. America's back. No more of those little greenies pushing their electric coal-powered cars. But what do you think? Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115, 8422, text it in. I did find it interesting that the guy that blew up the Tesla in Vegas was tracked by all the stops he made at charging stations. First stop was from Denver to Monument to charge up, and then I think he made like 6 more stops just to get to Vegas. Think about that the next time you use the charging station.
Oh, well, not that. The fact that Elon can track every Tesla on the planet. He can easily see where you are, and he can turn your car on and off on his own. He's done that before. In fact, there is a guy who's kind of a warlord in an Eastern European nation, and he bought a Tesla Cybertruck and mounted one of those Gatling gun machine guns on the back and then posted on social media going, "Thanks, Elon." And Elon turned his car off. Yeah, so he's like, "Hey." And so then a couple of days later, he's moaning on social media about Elon's turned my truck off. He turned my truck with the gun off, and then he was whining about it. Yeah,
wow.
So he can monitor you the entire planet, no matter where you are. Yeah.
Speaking of moaning, what happens if you end up with a wound?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about a brand new advertiser we have, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. You might have heard some of the recorded spots we've been playing, but here's got a question for you. You know that ignoring the problem doesn't fix the problem, right? Now, ignoring a small cut or a wound doesn't seem like a big deal, but it can turn into an enormous big deal for you because torn skin and tissue is the perfect place for dirt, germs, bacteria to get inside your body. Things like slow healing cuts, diabetic ulcers, pressure sores can be incredibly challenging to manage and impact your quality of life. I'm really excited today to tell you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They have an expert wound care set of professionals that'll come directly to your home. There's no more struggling with transportation. You don't have to wait at the clinic. You get the Wound Care Associates of Colorado skilled nurses coming to your home to provide compassionate, comprehensive wound care in the privacy and security of your own house. Now, they're going to assess your wound. They're going to develop a personalized treatment plan and provide all the necessary care to heal your wound. You'll receive expert care in the comfort and privacy of your own home, a tailored care plan to address your specific needs, and you can reduce the risk of complications to promote faster healing. Why is this important? Well, Jennifer, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, lost her uncle. Her uncle had some comorbidities, had some issues with diabetes and neuropathy, and got a small cut on his foot. He didn't feel it, and he didn't think it was a big deal. The cut got infected. Her uncle lost most of his foot in an amputation, but the infection had already taken hold. He died 3 days later. 3 days after the surgery that was supposed to prevent the infection from going further, he's dead. It can go that quickly. So I need you to reach out to my friends, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. You've got a wound that's been kind of persistent, hasn't been healing. Most of those other clinics just want to maintain where you are now and not get it better. The difference with Wound Care Associates of Colorado, they're going to fix it. If you or a loved one is struggling with a chronic wound, visit coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com for more information and to schedule your in-home visit today. coloradowound.com is important to me because when my dad suffered a stroke, we were really worried about him just getting bed sores.
Yeah,
you had to make sure he was moved often enough because these type of wounds can easily become infected even when you're just laying in bed. So coloradowound.com.
And don't you realize, Bill, you probably realize it too.
Yeah.
I do, that as you get older, like things just take forever to heal.
Dude, okay, we got to talk about this. I'm struggling with a little bit of a respiratory thing. It's kind of, I'm hoping it doesn't turn into bronchitis. I'm seeing the doc tomorrow. We're going to be looking at some stuff. I'm worried about it. And my wife and I just last night, we're talking about how come when you're getting older, it takes you like forever to get over injuries and sicknesses and where you could like, I'm just going to power through this when you're younger. Not anymore. Not anymore. Your body goes, ha, 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 dummy. You're down for a couple of days on this one. So that's why it does take longer for your body to heal. So,
We're
reach
glad
out
to
them.
hear that
Yeah.
Colorado
Wound Associates.
Wound Care
Yeah,
Associates of
Yeah.
Colorado. So
Yeah, so
joining
Colorado-
the team here.
Yep, ColoradoWound.com. Check him out. And when you do, let him know you heard about him here on the show because we really appreciate it. Helps us out as well. So,
That's absolutely right.
Hey, let's
Coming
do
up,
some silly stuff.
You choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. I got to push these buttons a number of times, silly computer. Here we go. Let's try this one. Aha, success.
right. About this time each day, we bring in a little levity with You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, it's that time where we do really stupid things with valuable airtime. We call it America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I've spent mere moments this morning to gather these stories in my hand to give you a really taste of some of the dumb things us humans can do. I've given them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because, as we've outlined before, nobody that has any control of the station is awake at this hour. Their alarms don't hit until 7. Once we figured that out, oh, what happens when Jeff and I are left unsupervised? Lesson our parents learned in teenage years. But those are stories for other days. Good memories, good memories. Alrighty, and some scars. Okay, now, this is how we play the game. Blake Olson joins us from the newsroom, and then Jeff Hunt is in the studio. And remember, guys, this is all secret. Even us listeners, shh, don't tell anybody we're doing this. Okay, here are our headlines this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, maybe try Led Zeppelin, Eddie Rabbitt, or the Eurythmics. Headline number 2, the spin is strong. Headline number 3, Trump preventing Americans from making money? And headline number 4, social media isn't the answer. Okay, Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Check out The Spin is Strong.
Yeah, The Spin is Strong. A spin-off of a popular CBS top cop drama may not understand the direction that it's going. See, they're taking FBI, which is a super popular CBS show, and they want to create a new, innovative spin-off show called FBI CIA. Seems phenomenally stupid.
I thought they were going to do FBI targeting homeschool moms.
That's a good one. Now, the project is called A Dedicated Straight-Laced FBI Agent, and a street-smart CIA agent are part of a new clandestine task force charged with solving and preventing domestic terrorism in and around New York City. In other words, we are remaking 24. Pretty much what they're doing. Yeah. It's slated to
Dude, whatever happened to the
year.
guy that was the lead of 24? Didn't he have some drinking issues?
Oh, drinking issues, yes. My brother watched him jump into a Christmas tree in the hotel lobby one day.
What?
Also went drinking with him at the time, too. But yes. So, yeah. yes. Kiefer Sutherland has done well. So, yes. Alrighty.
Oh,
yeah,
Kiefer Sutherland.
I know. Okay. Blake Olson, the news department. Your choice, sir. Maybe try Led Zeppelin, Eddie Rabbitt, or the Eurythmics. Trump preventing Americans from making money, and social media isn't the answer. Your choice, sir.
Man, those are some good ones, Billy. Social media is not the answer? Is that correct?
Social media is never the answer, is it? And over in England, people are being told, hey, how about you call the emergency number 999 instead of posting fires on social media and asking for help? The fire trucks might arrive a little quicker. Fire crews have reported an increase in the public sharing images of fires before they even call the fire department. Yes,
I heard this.
Yeah, the fire manager at Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue says this is a worrying trend. He says, the concern is if an incident isn't reported right away, it could escalate to something worse. And even though that might be even better for your Instagram and your TikTok followers, it doesn't help you actually stay safe, nor does it help us prevent any of the fires. So rather than doing it for the gram, people, maybe you put down the phone for a second or just use that stupid phone and call the fire department first.
You got to use the comment first when you post.
Exactly.
So everybody knows you're the first one.
Yes, you're the first one. Have to be. It's like the guy yesterday we talked about, the South Korean coffee shop owner who's like, call me if your plane's going down before you call your family. Yeah, same thing. Same thing. All right, Jeff, final choice this morning, sir. Maybe try Led Zeppelin, Eddie Rabbitt, or the Eurythmics, or Trump preventing Americans from making money?
Trump is doing.
Yeah.
Of course.
And can Trump be preventing Americans from making money? Yes, with his TikTok executive order. Why? Some iPhone users never deleted TikTok during the brief ban in the U.S. And some of those individuals were trying to sell their phones for thousands upon thousands of dollars on eBay once the ban went into effect. Their dreams at financial security have now been crushed by Trump's executive order. It's unclear about what's going to happen about it. But nonetheless, several iPhone owners were selling their phones upwards of $25,000 on eBay.
Wow.
Now, again, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phones that are listed on eBay to buy. So some are going as low as $10,000. You can even find some discount models that had TikTok installed for $500. But the vast majority of them proudly said in all caps, TikTok installed. And we're going for, around $20,000. So, again, President Trump, unfortunately, not allowing the average hardworking American to take advantage of the stupid on eBay and sell their phones. But,
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah, completely. That's it. That's the end. You choose the news. Back to you, sir.
I just feel like if you're willing to spend money on that, you
Yes.
deserve all the loss that comes to you.
Me too. High five.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Representative Ryan Gonzalez about an effort to repeal the cage-free egg ban. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Or I guess mandate, not ban. It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, January 23rd. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. We've got partly cloudy, 35 degrees today. It's going to get warmer Friday, 47. Then the snow hits back on Saturday. high of 25. Sunday, clearing and cold, high of 28. Monday, partly cloudy, 40. And then Tuesday and Wednesday next week, sunny and in the mid 40s. Welcome to late January weather. Well, you've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. I'm Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump is your president. We're off and running. Got a whole hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 11 degrees, partly cloudy in Denver, as you just mentioned. Expecting a high of 32 today. It'll get warmer, and then a little snow over the weekend. Our top story.
You look at crime, you look at what's gone on at the border, you look at what's going to happen, the crime that's going to happen. But I think we got there just in the nick of time. But we still have you covered better than anybody. We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands. We have
DJT getting ready to send 10,000 troops to the U.S. southern border. Reports say the troops will help Border Patrol agents shut off access to asylum in the U.S. and will use Department of Defense bases to hold illegals awaiting deportation. Meanwhile, all refugee flights into the U.S. have come to a halt after 47 suspended the State Department's refugee program. The president on Fox News last night with Hannity.
I went through 4 years of hell by this scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won. But I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that.
Meanwhile, all the globalist communist lefties in Davos, Switzerland for the WEF and Rebel News, just doing a great job, showing what journalists should be doing every day, trying to get just a quick interview on the street with BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink. What a great last name, Fink.
Mr. Fink, are you going to follow Donald Trump's plan and get rid of DEI and ESG in your companies? BlackRock really is the opposite of Donald Trump in so many ways. You're authoritarian, you're anti-populist, you're top. Mr. Fink, are you going to follow Donald Trump's plan and get rid of DEI and ESG in your companies?
So he's not answering.
BlackRock really is the opposite.
And they're walking. He's got his 2 bodyguards, 3 bodyguards, maybe.
Donald Trump in so many ways. You're authoritarian, you're anti-populist, you're top down. Are you going to change it all in light of the U.S. presidency? How is Donald Trump? Have you talked to Donald Trump since he was elected?
They must have walked a quarter of a mile. Great job by them. I'll play some more later. He doesn't answer, and then they'll go in. All the lefty globalists, WEF, will go in and talk trash about Trump. So that's what's going on in Davos. The city of Denver deputy director of the mayor's homeless initiative told the city council committee Wednesday that their goal is to put 2,000 people into permanent housing this year. That's on top of the 2,000 the city hopes to move off the street and into temporary housing. The city plans to end the lease on a Globeville hotel used for temporary shelter in March and move the money saved toward additional permanent housing. Boy, this gets just so complicated.
The government's going to provide everybody's housing.
Right? And then we just use as many big words as possible, and we're just bleeding out. The city expects to spend nearly $60 million on the homeless initiative during the coming year. 7 Texas police officers are hurt after being shot while attempting to contact a barricaded suspect in San Antonio. Police Chief William McManus said the officers were responding to a call of a potential suicide in progress last night when they were shot by the suspect, who was found dead from a gunshot wound after a long standoff. California firefighters say they are getting the upper hand on the Hughes fire in the mountains north of LA. They keep on saying the wildfires, but there are just numerous reports of these fires being started, arson, and who knows who's starting these things. Started late Wednesday morning near the town of Castaic. I'm going to butcher that one. North of LA, putting 30,000 people under evacuation orders. By last night, the fire was 14% contained. New York City firefighters are having to deal with frozen fire hydrants. 5 people recovering from injuries after a fire broke out in Brooklyn on Wednesday. The Kings at the Nuggets tonight, NBA action. The Jets over the Avs last night in the NHL, and a big win for CSU Hoops last night, 75-72 over Boise State. 10 in North Glen, 9 in Lone Tree, and 11 in Denver. It is Thursday. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll be a quiet day here in Denver and along the Front Range, just chilly. Temperatures will reach the lower to mid-30s under partly cloudy skies, clear in teens tonight. Briefly warmer Friday. Could sneak into the lower to mid-40s. However, Friday night, a cold front comes in, lows mid-teens. Late Friday night, snow showers developing. Then a good chance of snow Saturday. With lingering light snow into Saturday night, colder. There's going to be some snow accumulations from late Friday night through Saturday night. Low Saturday night, single digits. Highs only 20s Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
What should we do with these cage-free egg mandates and all the other mandates that Democrats want to do down at the state capitol? In just a second, we're going to talk with Ryan Gonzalez, the Republican who is introducing a bill to repeal it, along with Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. Do they have a chance of getting it through? I want to talk to you first about my friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. Look, especially as you start this new year, why not address hair loss? Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairlines, thinning hair, men, women, younger, wiser. Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians like Dr. Tanya Pauls have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now it's your turn. Schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, $250 off, 250 free hair grafts. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. Had family members get their hair done, and it really did affect every relationship in their life. Their coworkers, they had more energy. They brought back to youthfulness and improved family relationships, even romantic relationships. So check out advancedhair.com. That's 720-459-HAIR, or become inspired with before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. All right, so what can Republicans do with all these fees and mandates and bans on caged eggs coming from caged chickens? Oh, it just seems like Democrats down at the state capitol want to make everything more expensive in your life. Well, joining us on the Zoom is Representative Ryan Gonzalez, House District 50. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show, Representative.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. It's good to be here with you guys.
Now, I want to know, I know you didn't make it into the office yet, sir. How's the traffic out there on you where you're driving? How's, how full is it? What's going on? Just figured you're out there. We aren't.
I should be in the Capitol in about 15 minutes or so, but I like to leave my house earlier than normal, and no matter what, I still get the traffic coming into Thornton, but it's not too bad. Normally, if I start driving later, it's worse.
Isn't that? It's weird. Like you leave 5 minutes later, and all of a sudden you're like, where'd all these people come from? It's ridiculous.
You'd be surprised. 5 minutes makes all the difference in the world. If I leave earlier, it definitely helps for sure.
So, Representative Ryan Gonzalez, what are you and other Republicans down at the state capitol seeking to do to address these cage-free egg mandates, things like that?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I've been working on a bill with Senator Kirkmeyer to repeal the cage-free mandate that they passed in 2020, HB 2013-43, introduced by, I believe, former Senator Kerry Donovan. And there was a lot of people who were against it. This bill was passed during COVID, so there was a lot of people who weren't able to testify against it. So what we're looking at are the shortages, the supply chain constraints, the costs that go into food, and it's affecting low-income people, right? So we're prioritizing people who are struggling to make ends meet, and this bill helps at least alleviate some of the cost in the eggs that we see now, the cage-free. So we're looking to repeal that law because basically it's not about animal welfare, it's about chicken welfare, and we shouldn't be prioritizing chicken welfare over the needs of our people, especially low-income people who are struggling to put food on the table. Single parents who have, more than one kid or just have a child alone, it adds up. And so a lot of people are complaining about the cost of eggs. You hear it, in conversations, you hear it at the store, you hear it everywhere. It's just becoming increasingly unaffordable. So my bill is looking to repeal that. And so I actually got all the House Republicans and most of the Senate Republicans to sign onto the bill so we can stand in support of our community and see if we can get these prices down.
Now, there's got to be one. There's got to be at least one Democrat in all of the state House and state Senate that's willing to repeal this. Please tell me that the radical animal lobby doesn't have total control of the Democrat caucus.
Oh, well, I can tell you, I come from a competitive district, and I know some of these Democrats are in competitive districts themselves. So it would be beneficial for them to support this, especially because there's low-income people everywhere, and not all of these districts have wealthy people in them. And this is a concern for people who prioritize affordability over a lot of the social issues. This is stuff that people care about. So I have been talking to some of the more middle-of-the-road Democrats about this bill. They want to get more information. They want to kind of see how it goes in committee and then make a determination from there, which is fine. But I have had some Democrats reach out with interest in potentially supporting the bill.
Oh, Ryan Gonzalez, that is fantastic. That is really good news. Ryan Gonzalez is joining us right now. He's the representative from House District 50, and he is commuting on the roads right now, just like a lot of you are. Thanks for the time today, Ryan. And I agree with you that this should be a market-based solution rather than a government mandate. I have something I want you to kind of take, and maybe you can put this in the back of your quiver, you can put it in your pocket. When you're talking about this and debating this either in private or on the floor, as far as getting some of the Democrats persuaded. Just exactly what you talked about, that many of the people that have been elected into that body are in competitive districts. We didn't come in through government mandate and outlaw one party or another. We didn't mandate that voters had to make only one specific choice. We allowed competition, and we allowed the marketplace of ideas for the voters to make their choice. There's nothing wrong with cage-free eggs, but they should succeed or fail based on the market. There is a portion of the market that will make that choice, and there's a portion of the market that's going to make a different choice, just like the voters made a choice to put each and every one of those representatives sitting with you in that body in those chairs. Yet, the Democrats told the average voter, you no longer get to make a choice. We've decided what you're going to do for the eggs. Please, if you can, use that. You may find some of those squishy Dems that may be persuadable.
Oh, no, absolutely, 100%. And like you said, let the markets figure it out. You can't force this on its own. And so a lot of people want to talk that it's the bird flu, and that's part of the issue. But what I say is if you look at other parts in the country, they're all dealing with the bird flu, right? It doesn't disappear when you cross over Colorado. So their prices are not as high as ours. And in part, it has to do with the cage-free law. And the USDA also had a statement, a report, where they said that states who have these type of laws were disproportionately impacted severely more than other states who did not have these type of laws.
Oh,
so
Ryan,
this also is driving the prices of eggs.
Yes, you are 110% right. There is an impact based on bird flu, and we can see that across the country. But why, if we have an impact on prices in bird flu, is the solution to put another rule on top of it that make the eggs more expensive? When gas prices are going up, we don't go, hey guys, how about we pass a rule to make gas even more expensive? That's a solution. That's stupid. It's just on its face. The idea of tacking on something that is automatically going to make the product more expensive at a time in which supply is constrained, that prices are going to be raising. It's absolutely moronic. And I would ask the Democrats to defend their position on that how come the solution to what's going on with the eggs is to make them more expensive? How the hell does that work, man?
Right. Your guess is as good as mine, but the people who were supportive of the cage-free law back in 2020 were telling me that the markets were already moving towards that. But here's the thing. If it's moving towards it, why do you need a law to make it so? Let the markets on their own, when they're ready, be able to handle that and be prepared for that. Let them transition, but don't force the law to make them transition immediately. Now, their argument is that they phased this law in over the last few years because they've delayed it. But a lot of times, it's basically put a lot of the smaller egg producers out of business, those mid to lower level ones. They don't have the resources, they don't have the money. And obviously that has caused some of these egg producers to shut down. Two of them are in Carlos Baron's district, House District 48. Since this law has been implemented, two of the egg farms have shut down. So there's kind of this ripple effect about this law. So it's not necessarily about doing what's right for the chickens. It's more about basically control, like you said.
Talking to Ryan Gonzalez. He represents House District 50. He's a part of a group of Republicans at this point, could include Democrats, working to repeal the cage-free egg mandate. So, Ryan, we are a libertarian state. Believe me, I know this because I tend to be on the wrong side of all these ballot initiatives with regards to marijuana, psychedelic mushrooms, abortion. The message you get all the time is we are the free state of Colorado, where you can come and smoke your pot and, live your life. But then we're going to mandate what kind of eggs you can buy. Help me square how Democrats get this together. The idea of being a libertarian free state of Colorado, libertarian governor, and then they're going to tell you what kind of eggs you have to buy.
Because it's the humane thing to do, to treat chickens, chicken welfare, animals, everything like that humanely. So it's all about more being compassionate over the needs of low-income people. That's what it's about. It's about, appeasing to a lot of these activists who are prioritizing chicken welfare over low-income people, starving people, children, schools, restaurants, everything where they're struggling to get eggs, only driving the prices up, only to appease these very left-wing activists. And I think it's wrong because they don't answer to these activists. They answer to the people of Colorado. And like you said, the Libertarian Party was started here in Colorado. This is the birth. This is the place where in Colorado Springs, the Libertarian Party started. So yes, we should be a libertarian state, but a lot of these people elected just don't care because they're in control. They're in the majority. They have the votes. They don't listen to the other side. They don't listen to anything that conflicts with what they want to do, their agenda. They just refuse to silence us and ignore us.
Talking with Ryan Gonzalez, he represents House District 50 in the state at the state capitol. So, are there other things that Republicans are looking to repeal? How about the bag tax?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is the worst. Okay, I don't want to pay it just out of spite. I'm not going to pay it, so I have to load all my groceries single-handedly, and I don't remember to bring those canvas bags with me, and so I got to load all my groceries into my grocery cart, and then I got to unload them all to scan them, and then I got to load them all back in individually, one by one, back into my grocery cart, and then I load them one by one into my car, and then I unload them one by one into my house. Bag tax, repeal it. Anything happening down there?
I can tell you I am co-prime sponsoring a bill with Representative Puglisi and Senator Byron Pelton to repeal that fee. It's funny because we do think it's a fee. We know it. We know it's taxed. But a lot of the people on the left like to say that the Supreme Court basically decided that fees were not in fact a tax. So they like to push back on that narrative, which is fine. But we know it's a tax. There's these hidden taxes, these fees. So we're looking at repealing the bag fee. We're looking at repealing the tire fee, the delivery fee, among other things. So this is something that the Republicans in the House and Senate are looking at what kind of fees we can repeal just to make life more affordable, right? Now, rich people don't care about 10 cents. They don't care about the 29 cents. But when people are struggling to make ends meet, that adds up over time, depending on how many times you go to the store, or you get stuff delivered, or you get tires or telephone fees. There's all these hidden fees and car registrations alone that we don't necessarily pay for some of these services that we're being charged for. But they like to say that this is something that was needed for the services that we provide. And so some of these Democrats are okay with these fees, but they don't understand that it impacts low-income people. And this is their way of getting around Tabor. With the whole budget constraint and everything that we're facing today, this is all the more reason for them to justify trying to get rid of Tabor. And the fees are obviously a way for them to get around it. And these enterprises are basically trying to phase in more fees. So there's going to be a battle with, if we repeal these fees, we're probably going to expect to see even like these newer fees come out of the blue. But I have the bag fee to repeal it. And then I think Representative Dan Woog is running a bill to repeal the delivery fee. And so the Senate Republicans are also looking at some other fees to repeal. We just got to get enough people to support it, testify for it, and really hold these Democrats accountable.
Talking to Ryan Gonzalez, he represents House District 50. Ryan, the critique is that the state is now run by Boulder Democrats and Denver Democrats. And when listening to you talk, it's so clear. They live in a totally different world outside of reality, where they have the money to be able to pay these different fees. They feel so good. They're doing all this great work. They feel good and warm inside. Meanwhile, the rest of us are struggling to deal with these progressive policies and the hit to our bank account. I mean, it seems like this is a very, very progressive Democrat-led state at this point.
It is. We had some more sensible come in, I think. We're just getting more sensible Democrats. We just have to see what kind of bills they actually come out of the committees and on the floor and how they vote on some of these bills, because there's also the assault weapons ban. There's Senate Bill 5, which kind of like limits how people can vote on union stuff. So there's a lot of people who are in opposition to that. And like you said, Denver and Boulder policies are pretty much cookie cutter policies all over the state. They don't work everywhere. What works in Denver doesn't work in Weld. What works in Weld doesn't work in Mesa. What works in Mesa doesn't work in El Paso, et cetera, et cetera. But these people don't understand, or they just simply don't care because they want to impose their will. And I think that's a problem.
Talking to Representative Ryan Gonzalez, House District 50. Ryan, how can folks follow you on X?
So I am on X, Ryan Gonzalez, CO, and that's with Z's, not S's. Some people, especially the media, have spelled my last name wrong. So I've had to correct them multiple times already.
I got it right. I looked it up.
Yeah. Follow me on X. On Facebook, I got a page. We're actually going to create a more like official page versus the campaign one. And then I'm also on Instagram. But feel free to reach out. I'm also on the legislative dictionary directory. So feel free to reach out to me, contact me, email me, give me your thoughts. Would love to hear from the public and see how we can get people to testify for these bills.
Oh, Ryan, thank you so much for letting us commute with you into the Capitol today. Also, man, got to give you a shout out. Nice tie. Dude, that's something.
I was going to say, speaking of dictionary under Suave.
Oh, God.
They have a picture.
Yeah. Now, if you're not joining us on the Rumbles, the Twitters, the YouTubes, all the places you can find us, you could have seen Ryan, and he is looking sharp. Okay, he has got a solid black tie. But what makes it so over the top is he's dressing with dark blue. We're talking dark blue jacket, dark blue shirt, and then the black tie. My man, you look great today. That is a beautiful tie. Nice job, man. I gotta be honest, man. It's the one reason I can't be a lawmaker. I'd have to show up like John Fetterman every day. I'm not wearing a tie every day. Can't do it, man. You look good. I
love it.
You look great.
Ryan Gonzalez, thanks so much for joining us. We'll continue to track this. And just, they drive me nuts. These stupid little fees. And I will not, I understand I could pay 10 cents for like 6 bags. 60 cents would make my life a little bit easier. But just on the principle of it, I won't do it.
Just pay the money. And the thing for me is, I just bring the bags with me. I got 2 bags that I throw in the back of the car. We've got bags in every car. For me, it's just an idea of it was just a change in behavior. I'm not that big of a deal to me, only because now I don't have that giant pile of extra plastic bags sitting under the kitchen sink.
We use those for everything.
Do
Dude,
you? Like
I'm
what?
bringing
I'm just
back
curious. What do you use them for?
Well, I mean, wrap my shoes when I travel so they don't get all my clothes stinky. That we use them for the garbage cans in our bathrooms. We use them a lot.
Huh, interesting. Because the only thing that we use them for is when I run out of dog poo bags. That's the only thing they're really useful.
We live on a ranch.
Yeah,
our dogs just go wherever they want.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I want the 80s back. I just want the 80s back. I want to just be living when you can just you can go into a grocery store and take 20 bags if you want. Nobody cares.
No, what I want is the idea that the kids will understand exactly what garden hose water tastes like.
Yeah,
everyone who grew up in the 80s, when I say garden hose water, you know exactly what that tastes like. Kids today, they have no idea. We got to change that.
Oh, boy. All right. I want to talk to you about my friends over at Colorado Christian University. Do you know a high school student who has a passion for engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics, with an emphasis in public policy, prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy, advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. What do you think about all these bills that Republicans are introducing to try to roll back some of these fees, some of these little charges, just the way the government just, sticks you on a daily basis with your stupid bag fees and your, gasoline fees and, forcing you to buy cage-free eggs. Are you tired of it in the state? Join the conversation. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump's national security advisor is sidelining about 160 career government employees who provide national security and foreign policy advice to the president as the administration takes a deep review of the staffing. Their goal is to make sure that employees at the White House are aligned with the America First agenda of the Trump administration. The employees, commonly referred to as detailees, were told to be available to the NCS's senior directors, but would not need to report to the White House. Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, had signaled before Inauguration Day that he would look to remove holdover civil servants that served under Joe Biden and send them back to their home agencies. Evacuations have been ordered for remote communities close to a new wildfire in the mountains north of Los Angeles. The Hughes fire broke out late Wednesday morning and quickly burned through hundreds of acres of trees and brush, sending up a huge plume of dark smoke near the Lake Castaic area. The fire comes as parched Southern California could get some badly needed rain this weekend. But even a small amount of precipitation could create new challenges like toxic ash runoff. Meanwhile, red flag warnings for critical fire danger are in effect through today. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just after a great conversation with Representative Ryan Gonzalez. There's a group of Republicans down there trying to roll back all these little fees and mandates that just stick you all the time because progressives have total control of the state, like forcing you to buy cage-free eggs. That only affects poor people. That mandate only affects poor people. Because if you're rich and you want to buy cage-free eggs, well, you just do it. It's out there. It's not like Republicans were banning cage-free eggs. But no, Democrats and the animal rights people come in and then just go.
Yeah, this for me is the idea that it pulls back, the curtain a little bit on the Democrats not looking for market-based solutions.
Yeah,
looking for mandated solutions. For me, this is an example of the Democrats wanting to rule rather than represent. If cage-free eggs are such a great idea, that's fine. You know what? All of us, when we walk into that grocery store, there's an organic section. There's a pesticide section. Choose what you want. I'm shopping pesticide. That's just where I am. And I'm open about it.
So the Humane Society used to have this little thing where you would make a personal pledge. Yeah. I'm going to. I can't do that. I just did this.
No, I can't. We could talk about that later. We should do that.
You can make a personal pledge to buy cage-free eggs, and when you did it, you filled out your little name and your email, and you clicked. Boop, the cage would open, and the chicken would fly out.
Oh.
It was sweet. It was good, smart, cute. Right? You can make your own little personal pledge.
Yes,
go right ahead. Forcing this stuff on everybody, give me a break. All right,
don't like that.
So I've noticed something, and I'll get to the phone lines here in just a second. Jay, you're going to be up. I've noticed that whenever Kyle Clark mentions me, this like army of progressive, purple-haired, seems to be single ladies, jump onto the comment section to defend Kyle Clark.
So you're telling me that like when Kyle mentions you, it's like when Sauron summons the ogres from Mordor and opens the gates. It's like, and they all go, and they all charge forward to take over Middle Earth. All righty.
Yes, that is exactly right. That was brilliant, Bill. So I put up a poll. What are we going to call Kyle Clark's fan base? Because they are unique people. I'll tell you that much. So I put up an initial question on that, got a whole lot of comments. I've summarized them into 4, and now I have a poll. So if you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, what are we calling Kyle Clark's fan base? Kyle's Karens, KC Crazies, Kylie's, or like Sleaze, Kylie's, or Clark's clones.
Oh, I like the Karens.
And right now, Kyle's Karens are leading 80%.
I like that. I like that a lot.
With almost 100 people voting.
If that we're gonna have to talk. If that gets enough votes, we're gonna talk about what the Mendoza line is. If that gets enough votes, we're printing T-shirts.
Yes,
we're printing T-shirts. We don't know what's going to look like.
Purple hair.
We're doing something.
Kyle Karens.
And it's either going to be I am a proud member of, or it's going to be I'm not a member of. I don't know what it is. We're going to have to do this, and it may be something where our listeners are going to have to help us design the T-shirt. But if we get to, we'll pick something this morning. We'll pick a Mendoza line that if we get this many votes in the poll, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make T-shirts. We'll have to decide about that.
Let's do at least 500.
Oh, more than that. Let's go higher.
1,000 votes.
Yeah, let's see if we get to 1,000
votes.
Yeah,
we'll make some T-shirts.
Yeah, we'll make some T-shirts. Yes, we will. Right. Absolutely.
Let's go to the phone. That's great, Bill. Let's go to the phone lines. Jay, Denver. Good morning, Jay. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. Long time no speak.
Yeah, very nice, man. Okay, what's your vote? What's your vote on the Jeff? Yeah, for the how we refer to Kyle's minions. Jeff, can you give us the choices once again?
Kyle's Karens, KC Crazies, Kylie's, or Clark's clones.
What do you vote, man?
I like the fourth one.
Clark's clones.
Oh, nice. I like that. Cool, man. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Okay, what's on your mind? Appreciate that.
Well, back to your Tesla comments. I was just loving this commentary. Bill, you're quick on the keyboard. Isn't a Tesla Plaid the Mac Daddy? Isn't it like $120,000?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I'll go look while you're talking. Yeah.
Okay. So we always have fun. And Jeff, I've never met you. Hopefully someday. But we enjoy going over your mountains in these big diesel trucks.
Yes.
And it's really, really, really rough. So it's like having 10 horses behind your trailer, and they're heavy. We haul backhoes, John Deere's. We love them. So we go up to this little outfit somewhere. You stop in Golden, and some dude pulls up in a Tesla Plaid. And, of course, we've got 850-pound-foot torque GMC Duramaxes that will pull a 16,000-pound John Deere and a 11,000-pound flatbed over the top of Vail Pass at 61 miles an hour. That's spectacular, right?
Yeah.
So I said, dude, let's go for a run. I'll wait you up top. So this is how we make a little money for Wounded Warriors on the side. I'll meet you to the top of Vail Pass in your Plaid. Just maintain 63 miles an hour, and I'm hauling roughly 35,000 pounds, and I'm going to go all the way to the top of the hill. And you put $1,000 in the hands of the attendant there at that gas station, wherever that is in Golden, for Wounded Warriors, and you come pick up your money if you can beat me. But the key, pal, is you've got to go to the top of Vail Pass. You've got to go all the way to Grand Junction and come back and not recharge your vehicle, and I will not have to pick up fuel the whole way. The whole way. And they just run away in their whatever clothes they wear. I don't know what kind of clothes they wear. But, you know, Jeff, you probably hauled some heavy stuff with trucks, and the modern day trucks are fabulous on dry ground with no trailer or anything. I can drive my Duramax from Denver to Trinidad, and I get 27 miles to the gallon.
That's awesome.
By the way, it weighs 5,300 pounds dry. Billy, isn't that the dry weight of a Plaid?
Yeah, it is. And the Plaid starts at 95,000, but if you want the long range battery, it gets you to 120K. So yeah, and that's the problem, man, is they're too heavy. That's part of the issue as well. They're just too damn heavy.
Jay, great call. That's
Thanks,
funny.
man.
I love
Appreciate
that so much. It challenges them.
Oh,
That's
that is
true. You can
fantastic.
fill it up with a lot and go very, very far and
Yeah, you
pull
can.
a whole lot. So
my
I
dad
haven't
was
gotten anything that heavy. We're just doing those big hail bales.
My dad was
Hay
a
bale.
huge diesel fan. Back again, 70s and 80s. We grew up with a diesel car in the household, and everybody at the time, the gas burners would look at us funny, and he's like, "You don't understand the actual torque that I have inside of a diesel engine is far superior to any torque you get out of a gas burner." But, speaking of my dad, I want to talk to you a little bit about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. My dad suffered a massive stroke a number of years ago before he left us. And one of the things we were concerned about are those bed sores, because, if you don't fix the problem with a wound, it can become a larger problem. Wound Care Associates of Colorado was started by a wonderful woman named Jennifer because of what happened to her uncle. Her uncle had some comorbidities, a diabetes, some neuropathy, and he developed a small cut just between two toes on his foot. He let it go. Didn't think that cut was a big deal. You and I wouldn't think it was a big deal. It got infected. Later on, it became a problem, and very soon, uncle had to have his foot amputated, but the infection had already taken hold. The infection took his life 3 days later. That's why it's important for Jennifer to make sure that you get your wounds fixed. Ignoring a wound that you don't think is a big deal can turn into a very big deal very, very quickly. Why? Torn skin, tissue, it's the perfect place for dirt, germs, and bacteria to enter your body. Slow healing cuts from things like diabetic ulcers, pressure sores, or just a wound that, because we're older, doesn't heal as quickly, can be incredibly challenging to manage and can very quickly impact your quality of life. That's why I'm excited to tell you about my friends at Wound Care Associates of Colorado and their amazing personalized service. Their expert wound care professionals come directly to your house. Wherever you live, they'll go there. No more going to the doctor's office. No more waiting for transportation, driving yourself there. You know how long you wait in that clinic? And then you got to go in the, inside there, and they say, hey, take your pants off, take this off, and do all the other stuff. No. Wound Care Associates of Colorado skilled nurses come right to your home, providing compassionate, comprehensive, and private care in your house. It's all personalized. They assess your wound, they develop a personalized treatment plan, and provide the necessary care to heal your wound. There may be somebody in your family, somebody in your neighborhood, someone in your social group that is dealing with that wound that just doesn't seem to heal. Don't struggle with it anymore. Fix it. You receive expert care, comfort and privacy of your own home, tailored care plans that will address your specific needs, and it will reduce the risk of complications because it promotes faster healings. Many other wound care facilities just want to maintain your wound. They don't want it to necessarily heal. They're just trying to not let it get worse. Why? They want you to keep coming back. They want to make sure that you still need their treatment. That's not the philosophy in Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Jennifer lost her uncle because of a small cut on his foot. She doesn't want you to lose those people in your life. Reach out to them today, coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com. If you or a loved one is struggling with a chronic wound, you can get all the information. You can schedule your in-home visit today. Don't ignore the problem. Fix the problem. coloradowound.com. And when you do reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because boy, does it help us out. We appreciate it.
That's great to hear, Bill. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So, Billy, I want to get into this. The birthright citizenship.
Oh boy.
Executive order. By the authority vested in me as the president, by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered that the privilege of United States citizenship is a priceless and profound gift. The 14th Amendment states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. That provision rightly repudiated, Donald Trump says, the Supreme Court of the United States' shameful Dred Scott v. Sanford decision, which misrepresented the Constitution as permanently excluding people of African descent from eligibility for United States citizenship solely based on their race. But, Trump continues, the 14th Amendment has never been intended to extend citizenship universally to everyone born within the United States. The 14th Amendment has always excluded from birthright citizenship persons who were born in the United States but not, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, unquote. Consistent with this understanding, the Congress has further specified through legislation that a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a national and citizen of the United States at birth. But if you were just born here, you are not a citizen. Oh boy, Bill. This is going to be litigated. Phil Weiser jumping right in among 20 states to jump right in on this.
And this is that Pandora's box. This is that cursed monkey's paw. This is a lesson about being careful what you wish for. And what I want to caution everybody that is enthusiastically supporting this is, are you certain you want someone sitting in the Oval Office to be able to cancel a constitutional amendment by edict? Be careful what you wish for, because I can guarantee you which amendment is going to be targeted by the next liberal inside the Oval Office. If the court system says Trump can do this, we know exactly which amendment they're going to target. And I mean the pun intentionally.
The Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
So you're looking at this from the perspective of going, Donald Trump wants to challenge what is held as constitutional law now, and that this could open the door for Democrats to challenge the Second Amendment.
My filter is that he's saying that by the stroke of a pen, I can change the meaning and direction of the Constitution. And if that is true, if that's where we are, if you think this is a great idea, and that the president, through a executive order or edict, can change the meaning of a constitutional amendment or the enforcement of, okay, be careful what you wish for, because the Second Amendment is next.
I think they already do that. So I'm not sure it's something that it will be done, or now there's a Pandora's box. I'm pretty sure that Joe Biden has tried to enforce, even against Supreme Court decisions, like forgiving student debt. They just kind of press at it, and then of course it gets into courts and stuff that.
But student debt isn't a constitutional amendment, so that to me is a different level. And I do think that he overreached. And he did take the Supreme Court decision on his original plan to forgive the student debt, and he kind of tried to work around what the ruling was. But that's not a constitutional amendment.
Do you think we have properly understood what the intent of the 14th Amendment relating to citizenship was all about originally? So conservatives are about original intent. Donald Trump making the argument that this was originally intended to deal with the Dred Scott decision and to ensure that the children of slaves were American citizens. It was never intended at the beginning to be a one-size-fits-all, cover any child that was ever born here And we've therefore misinterpreted it the last few decades or so.
Yeah. Isn't that the argument from the libs about the second? Isn't that the exact same argument?
Original intent?
Yeah.
No, I think conservatives have done actually a better job of making the original intent argument of the Second Amendment than liberals have.
I would disagree, because the courts, up until one of the recent decisions that talked about individual rights ownership of guns, every court decision prior to that the Supreme Court did ignore the precedent, was about a well-regulated militia. So we can go back as far as intent. Be careful what you wish for, people.
When I go back and read the Heller decisions, I think they do a good job of arguing what the original intent of the Second Amendment is. But this conversation is going to continue. Where do you land on birthright citizenship? Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, January 23rd. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Bill, we're now up near 160 votes on our little poll right now.
Nice.
X.com/Jeff Hunt. What are we calling Kyle Clark's fan base? Kyle's Karens are still leading 73%. Then Casey's Crazies, Kylie's, and Clark's clones are following behind that. If we get to 1,000, we'll print T-shirts.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll print T-shirts. We'll figure
votes.
out. Yeah.
Well, we're at almost 160.
Yeah, get to 1,000 votes, we'll print T-shirts. Well, I don't know if we'll have to open our own Etsy store, if we'll just distribute them here through the station. And I'm kind of thinking we're going to have to do two versions. One that is, I am proud to be, and then one that I am no way associated with. And I know a friend of the show, Andrew, that's texting us in, said that, man, I might want to chat to some of those single ladies. I can handle some of the crazy. And so maybe if Andrew's up for it on some of those T-shirts, we'll put some of his, contact info on there, But I'm just saying, I'm trying to help him out. Friend of the show.
They are unique. We're just pointing out that whenever Kyle tweets about us, this army of Karens with purple hair show up in the comments.
Yeah.
So he is their Justin Bieber. And so we want to know.
He does.
They just love him.
Yeah. They immediately put down the avocado toast or the gluten-free bagel or whatever the hell it is they're eating, and then they tweet immediately.
To his defense.
So yes, exactly. This will be fun. Right. Yeah. We want to have your vote. Please vote. How do we call him?
Yesterday, down at the state capitol, immigrants and lawmakers gathering to stand against deportations and other Trump plans. The Denver Post reporting, standing behind a lectern in the Colorado State Capitol building, State Representative Ricks reflected on the harrowing conflict that forced her to leave West Africa for Aurora. Her family escaped the civil war in Liberia after her mother's fiance was murdered by a firing squad. Jeez. She says, behind every undocumented person is a human story, a parent striving to provide for their children, a person trying to flee violence, Ricks, an Aurora Democrat, said on Wednesday. No person should face intolerance based on their immigration status. All right. Well, one part of your immigration status is either legal or not legal, and I don't think pointing out that people are here illegally is, quote, intolerant. Jeez, give me a break. All right, the Post continues. Behind her, more than 24 Coloradans, immigrants, advocates, and elected officials gathered on the steps of the West Foyer staircase in opposition to President Donald Trump's immigration policies, which are expected to include mass deportations. He has also called for the end of birthright citizenship, saying that Amendment 14, as it was originally written and intended, had nothing to do, was not a just blanket, come here, drop a baby, and then that baby, because it was born on this side of the border, is now all of a sudden gets all the privileges of being a United States citizen. What they're hanging their hat on is the line subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, so this is what Donald Trump's executive order said. Among the categories of individuals born in the United States and not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the privilege of the United States citizenship does not automatically extend to persons born in the United States. Number one, when the person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. Or number two, when that person's mother's presence in the United States at the time of said person's birth was lawful but temporary, such as, but not limited to, visiting the United States under the auspices of the visa waiver program or visiting on a student work or tourist visa. And the father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the said person's birth. Going back to the original intent of Amendment 14, it was about establishing citizenship for the children of slaves following the Dred Scott Supreme Court decision. It was never intended or even envisioned at the time of its passing to be a blanket any child ever born here at any time of any person becomes a United States citizen. Now, Phil Weiser and 20 other attorney generals suing to challenge this. This will be a big one at the U.S. Supreme Court. I think they make a compelling argument that this just isn't open to anybody that ever has had a child here. Bill, your thoughts on the actual merits of the case?
Completely wrong and obtuse and wrong directed. And the justification they're using is a flat out misinterpretation of the phrase. But okay. The idea of and subject to the jurisdiction therein, and they're using that incorrectly. But that's okay. I understand because they're misinterpreting it on purpose because they want to get to an end. And if this was such a problem, pass a law, change the amendment. We have the ability to make these changes, but not through executive orders. Because if we do this through executive orders, that means all the amendments are up for question and can be canceled through executive order. So, the whole idea of the jurisdiction one's bogus completely.
Want to hear from you. Is it time that we ended birthright citizenship in this country? We've gotten it wrong. It's a tool of abuse, and America needs to address it. Or is this a fundamental part of our Constitution that deserves to be protected? And all of a sudden, progressives now are originalists in the Constitution. Give us a call. Is birthright citizenship, anchor babies, are they good for America? 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, did your parents ever call TV the boob tube?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
So how about the fan club for Kyle? How about the boob tubes? Would that work? Maybe not. I don't know. Here's what the boob tubes are saying this morning. TV is dead. Dead. All right, 12 degrees and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 32. Our top story. Colorado Rep. Brian Gonzalez working on a bill to repeal the cage-free eggs mandate. Gonzalez on with Jeff and Billy last hour and explained, by the way, he needs to be the governor in a few years. This dude is awesome. The cage-free eggs mandate hurts low-income people and families in Colorado.
It's not about animal welfare. It's about chicken welfare. And we shouldn't be prioritizing chicken welfare over the needs of our people.
Thank you.
Especially low-income people who are struggling to put food on the table, single parents who have, more than one kid or just have a child alone. It adds up. And so a lot of people are complaining about the cost of eggs. You hear it, in conversations. You hear it at the store. You hear it everywhere. It's just becoming increasingly unaffordable. So my bill is looking to repeal that. And so I actually got all the House Republicans and most of the Senate Republicans to sign onto the bill so we can stand in support of our community and see if we can get these prices down.
Amen, Ryan. TJT getting ready to send 10,000 troops to the southern border. The troops will help Border Patrol against agents shut off access to asylum in the U.S. and will deport and use the Department of Defense bases to hold illegals awaiting deportation. Last night, the Defense Department confirmed it was sending an additional 1,500 active duty troops to the southern border on top of the 2,500 service members already stationed there.
You look at crime, you look at what's gone on at the border, you look at what's going to happen, the crime that's going to happen. But I think we got there just in the nick of time. But we still have you covered better than anybody. We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands.
And the left is amazed.
56%. This is 20 points higher than it was just before Trump got into office the first time. So feelings towards immigration in this country, feelings towards undocumented immigrants and deporting all of them have become considerably more hawkish. And I think that gives Donald Trump much more leverage to go with the American people and sort of have these hawkish, some might say harsh, different rhetoric and also issue-based sort of going after immigrants who are here illegally.
It's a mandate. And Larry Pinkney, founder of the Black Panthers, loves the country and DJT and hates the deep state.
President Trump, and not just President Trump, they want to sabotage our republic. And who's the they? The deep state. Yes, the same disgusting, filthy players that have been running the show for far too long. While I am ecstatic about having our president in the White House, in the Oval Office, I would remind everyone very respectfully, but very strongly, this war is raging.
On InfoWars Wednesday, I agree with him. Confirmation votes are taking place on Capitol Hill today for DJT's cabinet picks. The Senate is expected to vote on John Ratcliffe's nomination for CIA director today. It's also expected to hold a procedural vote to end debate related to Pete Hegseth's confirmation to be the next defense secretary. Love this dude. Pierre Poilievre is the Canadian conservative. A Toronto anchor wants to get him into some good old gender talk. Pierre's not having it.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. People who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well, you are a man. Yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah. They say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here? Whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two.
I'm only aware of two, but if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
Yes. What do you think of that, Jeff? You like that one?
I love that guy. Please make him. I watched the other interview where he's in an orchard eating an apple and he responds. He has no tolerance for the media anymore.
No,
he's brilliant. He recognizes how dumb they are. They all parrot the same talking points, and he just challenges them on the premise of their question. It is a master class in how to respond to the dopes that run mainstream media. So
no,
love
question.
The guy.
Man, I wish I was Canadian for a day so I could vote for him. Kings at the Nuggets tonight. Jets over the Avs 3-2. Huge win for CSU Hoops last night in Fort Collins, 75-72 over Boise State. It's 11 in Westminster, 10 in Parker, and 12 in Denver. It is Thursday morning, and Jeff and Billy continue. Thank you for giving me that.
That's got to be a Muppet Show.
Play that. It is.
Yes, I know
Ray
that.
Stevens, you are correct.
Yes.
It's such a good
and
one.
Gonzo, that's Gonzo and his singing chickens. Yep,
that's right. And, I mean, it's so good.
It is.
They produced it.
The thing is, here's the thing, man. That between you and me, Blake, I can't do long division. But I know that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem that's in my screwed up brain.
Exactly.
I can't do functional stuff that actually would help me in life. But you play that song, and I'm like, hey, Gonzo's chickens.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm right there with you, man. I can't do addition.
Oh, I know.
You've got the more complicated stuff. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll be a quiet day here in Denver and along the Front Range, just chilly. Temperatures will reach the lower to mid-30s under partly cloudy skies, clear in teens tonight. Briefly warmer Friday. Could sneak into the lower to mid-40s. However, Friday night, a cold front comes in, lows mid-teens. Late Friday night, snow showers developing. Then a good chance of snow Saturday. With lingering light snow into Saturday night, colder. There's going to be some snow accumulations from late Friday night through Saturday night. Low Saturday night, single digits, highs only 20s Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Are anchor babies good for America? DJT pushing back, saying this never should have been allowed anyways. We got the Constitution wrong on this. But is he wrong on that? Phil Weiser thinks 20 other attorney generals say, no, this is part of the 14th Amendment. Critical birthright citizenship. This will end up being a battle that goes all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. My guess is, I want to get to the phone lines here. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Dude, the text messages are just hilarious this morning. 8835. Put me down for Kyle's Karens. We're having a vote on what you call the fan base of Kyle Clark as well. But give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. We're at over 200 votes now. If we get more than 1,000 votes, we'll make T-shirts. And you can proudly wear, I'm a member of the Kyle's Karens Club.
You can show, or you can say that you're not. So again, we'll do two versions. We have to do two versions. So, and again, you might have someone in your life that really is that huge Channel 9 fan. Hey, we've got you hooked up for the next birthday, anniversary, just a thank you gift. We'll take care of you. Then if you have someone that's not a fan, we got your back too. But we need 1,000 votes. If we don't hit that threshold, we won't do it. So help us out.
Yesterday on X, he posted about me being like, Jeff, why are you so obsessed with me? It was right out of Mean Girls.
Oh,
it was right out of the plot.
Yes, it was. It was. And some of the responses were crazy.
Because you are the number one talk piece for the radical left in Colorado, and you deserve it, my friend.
Well, all right. He wanted that center stage platform.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go. And I'm a fan. I'm not a huge fan of wrestling, but I like all the MMA fighting kind of, stuff that goes on.
I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, and I love the performance aspect of that. And then that's what this is. We're pro wrestling this thing, man. Absolutely.
Look, if you're in an injury case, you got to call my friend Dan Caplis at Dan Caplis Law. Look, I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-faith, pro-family, pro-America, right? So you're getting somebody that's with us on the values. That matters because values shapes every aspect of your life. He's the son of a police officer, a former seminarian. He spent 40 years of his life serving the people here in Colorado. But more than just being a great guy, Dan is a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. Let's head to the phone lines. Jim Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man? What's on your mind?
So, called about anchor babies and immigrants.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Donald Trump has become a union organizer and pulled all these people in, and now he's talking about making things better for workers. What's happened to the Republican Party? I think it's gone.
Oh, explain. What do you mean by that? What do you see? How do you feel this being this action that Donald Trump is taking being the erosion of the Republican Party?
Well, I don't think it's a question that cheap labor is what has always fed into the American business climate, free markets that we tout. And now all of a sudden, we're going to act as though cheap labor, foreign labor is not important in this country. It's what's built the business community in this country. They've always had access to cheap, abundant, compliant labor. And now all of a sudden, because we all got old, we're deciding that we don't need it anymore.
So
that's interesting.
I mean, Jim, you're picking up on a change. You're not wrong at all in the sense that there is a change that's taking place. And here's the critique: it's coming from economists, and there's one Cass, Kass is the last name, that's written a book that's kind of influenced Donald Trump's thinking on this, which is, yes, global trade and free market has actually worked quite well in what it sought to achieve, which was things are very cheap. In the sense that televisions are generally pretty cheap, phones, you could get a phone even if you're not a wealthy person, all that stuff. But economics is all about trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs that we've experienced right now is that movement up through classes has stalled. People are living paycheck to paycheck. They're not increasing in their take-home pay. Those are economic challenges that are existing out there, and economists are seeking to try to figure out if there's ways that we can address this, because, yeah, you may be able to get a TV for $300, but you can't afford a home anymore. You can't move up in your general wealth development anymore. So there's been trade-offs, and it needs to be questioned and challenged.
Trade-offs. Our children can't afford to continue our family names at this monetary reset that we've endured. It's not inflation when it steps up like this. It's a full-on reset. It happened across the world. Yeah. We can call it inflation, but it is not. We've conditioned our children to believe that work is for immigrants, and they believe it as well. And we've taught them this. And now we're in this quicksand where our children are going to pay the price for what we made them believe. The stock market, is that going to bail us out?
No, I mean, to some with nice 401ks, but on Social Security,
they're meaningless.
I mean, Jim, with Social Security, if there's not changes to that, there will be a 20% cut across the board in 2040 on that. Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely screwing our kids on this stuff.
Well, that's why they want to put it in the stock market, is so the stock market can be bailed out continuously with the American society. I want to ask you, illegal immigrants.
I want to ask you about anchor babies, though. I mean, this has been general policy for the last 40 or 50 years. It wasn't the original intent of the 14th Amendment. That had to do with Dred Scott and the citizenship rights of the children of slaves. But right now, children that are born here are recognized as citizens, even if their parents are illegal. A good thing or a bad thing for America?
Well, the Constitution protects anchor babies and, whatever you call them. And businesses get to persist and open their doors. If we lost all the immigrants in this country, I think a third of the businesses would close in 1 week. 50% of the businesses would close within 3 months, and the government would be scrambling to create as much money as they could to hand to people. But it wouldn't be productive people. They would hand the money to the people that would hire, the job creators. And the job creators, since World War II, when we had that abundance of overwhelming available labor, have decided that they want new people, fresh, young people from throughout the world, and that's why we don't have immigration reform. So our country is based upon cheap, available, abundant young people so that businesses can have a free market and have a little bit of competition here and there. But now we got old.
Do you think it's working, though? I mean, you just listed a litany of problems that we're facing. This is what you said. This is what our country is based on. But would you say it's working?
Well, it worked until we all got old. 80 million of us got old at the same time, and we're not having enough children to fill those shoes in those houses. I think it's what the business community and their lobbyists are screaming for. I mean, Elon Musk, for God's sakes, wants more H-1B visas so he can fill his technical jobs in his factories, right? It's what we are. It's without these cheaper labor people, we can't have the business community as it exists now. We just can't have it.
Jim, great call. Sure, appreciate it. Jim's
good.
line will be open. Do you agree with Jim? Do you disagree with him? I think you got to look at the whole picture and the broad trade-offs. He's absolutely right in the sense that you're getting cheap labor. That's essentially, it's one step up from slave labor. But yes, you're getting cheap labor. But it's not like they're not a cost to society either. You have Denver Health that can barely keep its doors open right now because of the cost of servicing an illegal immigrant community with emergency room services is nearly bankrupting Denver Health. So, yeah, you're getting cheap labor, but we're paying for it out of our social programs. The city of Denver's paid over $100 million to try to deal with illegal immigrants. We're spending more money in our schools with ESL issues. So, yeah, there's a big weight to society on this as well. We're debating the 14th Amendment. Text message here, 9080. Bill, I don't see any connection with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was explicit about the right to bear arms. The 14th Amendment had to do with slaves and their kids, not illegal immigrants entering the country trying to game the system.
Well, the issue, but I understand what they're saying, but the issue is, Texture, if the president, the person sitting in the White House, can cancel a constitutional amendment through executive order, they're all open. I understand your perspective on that. But if you agree that Donald Trump can cancel a portion of the 14th based on executive order, then the next lib that sits behind that desk and behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office can cancel parts of the second. Be careful what you wish for.
Give us a call. Phone lines are open. You can hear them ringing in the background, 303-696-1971, or text us. The text messages come right into the studio here on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Look, it's a new year. Why not look great? And our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can help you achieve that New Year's resolution of getting your energy up, improving your relationships, looking better. They can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by Advanced Hair's guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairlines, thinning hair, men, women, younger, wiser. Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians like Dr. Tanya Pauls have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now it's your turn. Schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, 250 free hair grafts, and $250 off. So value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR. You can become inspired with before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Let's go to, is it Melissa? All right. Good morning, Melissa. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, and it was great to see you at the Mike Boyle thing on Monday, Melissa. That was fantastic. It was so cool to see it.
Yeah, that was a blast. I love meeting new people.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
That was so cool.
I sat with all strangers.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. And again, you were rocking your DJT Punisher hoodie, which I'm a fan of.
That's right.
It's while I disagree, as far as where we are politically, that hoodie's awesome. So what's on your mind? What about immigration? You were talking to me off air about restaurants.
Well, I just wanted to say I've been in the restaurant business all my life. And I worked at the Wine Coop in McCormick's, years ago.
John Hickenlooper's restaurant.
Yes. I told everybody to vote for him. I regret it. I really do. I think a lot of people listen to me.
So wait, Melissa, stopped right there. Just want to let everybody know, Jeff and Bill audience, it's Melissa's fault. I'm teasing you. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing you, Melissa. I'm only teasing because we're friends. Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
I know. But I'm wondering if the reason why I mean, you don't get benefits in a restaurant anymore. Well, I had 401k, insurance, the whole 9 yards, really good dental plan. I've been turned down recently for a couple of jobs at a Mexican restaurant because I didn't speak Spanish. And I know 2 guys that are having a hard time, a chef and a waiter, finding a job in the restaurant business also. Like, I think there's a lot, so much competition from the migrants.
Yeah, I can see that, but what I've also seen is in more of the white collar world, I have seen an erosion of healthcare benefits, 401k benefits, bonuses have gone away. A couple of decades ago, you used to get an annual cost of living increase. You don't get those anymore. Healthcare for me is the one that shows a vast difference in the investment that companies are making into their employees, legal or illegal. I have seen a dramatic change as far as what is covered and how much you have to pay just over the last 3 decades. And so I'm not certain we can hang that all on immigration, but I do agree that the impact as far as the illegal immigration and what that does to wages and possibly their benefits does impact the restaurant industry larger than others. I think you're right there.
Yeah, I think so too. And I just worry, like insurance too. I know so many people who just barely make enough money to not qualify for, you know, the lower end insurance, but then they can't afford the higher end insurance.
Oh, yeah, where you get trapped right in between. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, Melissa, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. It was great to see you on Monday. I also had a person off the air that talked about Denver Health and talking about how part of the increase and part of the reason they've got things, in their opinion, their experience was it's the only level 1 trauma center in the area. So they draw a lot more people. And then also there are individuals that are, they said poor. So people that are on the lower income strata that then are transported into Denver Health because they can't be treated or they're not doing it out there. So it's not necessarily, I'm not sure it's all based on illegal immigration, but that is a portion of it.
No,
but,
you're
but is
right
that an argument? But is that an argument for socialized healthcare?
Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Looking at countries with birthright citizenship, it's pretty much the Western North America, South America, but you get into Europe, Australia, Africa, Asia, no birthright citizenship, or at least restrictions on birthright citizenship.
And oddly, you know what they also don't have? Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I'm closing the circle. Because if we think this can be done through presidential edict, the second is in the sights of the libs.
Give us a call and join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The DOJ is threatening to criminally investigate and prosecute state and local officials who stand in the way of President Donald Trump's mass deportation plans. The memo from Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove also says that the federal prosecutors who don't prosecute those immigration cases will be immediately reported to the DOJ. The memo that was sent out to the entire workforce says, in part, the U.S. Attorney's offices and litigating components of the Department of Justice shall investigate incidents involving any such misconduct for potential prosecution. The memo says the department will go back to charging defendants with the most serious crime it can prove, rather than leaving the option up to a prosecutor who often charges a lower level offense. The mayors of sanctuary cities like Denver and Chicago have said they would protect the illegal migrants in their cities. Starbucks has announced that they are enacting a new code of conduct that says people need to make a purchase if they want to hang out or use the restroom. The American Restroom Association, a public toilet advocacy group, was among the critics. However, many are welcoming the policy, saying it will keep the homeless and those who use drugs out of the restrooms, making it safer for both employees and customers. The National Retail Federation says private businesses have a right to limit restroom use. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking birthright citizenship. Billy pointing out that, well, we can't have presidents just kind of by the stroke of a pen challenging constitutional provisions. I think that happens pretty much all the time. I think every administration comes in and challenges different aspects of the law. I mean, Joe Biden just tried to add an amendment, just declare it on his way out. 28th Amendment. There you go. So from my perspective, from the Trump administration to challenge the particular language in the 14th Amendment around the subject to the jurisdiction of thereof. So this is what it says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So the Trump administration pointing out that important part, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, therefore limits this notion of anchor babies. You can't just come here if your parents are illegal and become a citizen because you're born here. But this would challenge at least the last few decades of federal law on this issue. So where do you land on all this? Let's go to the phone lines. Kenton, Denver. Good morning, Kenton. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hello, good morning. I don't really have any comments to make on the birthright thing, although it does sound like they're protected by our Constitution. But what I did want to say briefly is that whenever you see these people, these immigrants coming in here, they don't even work for minimum wage. And so our welfare system is supporting them. When they go to the supermarket, buy groceries, they're buying it with our food stamps, our stamp cards. And so the taxpayers, the people working in those stores are the ones paying for that. They're the ones paying the taxes. And I think the immigrants have just done a real number on it. And I'm an amputee in a wheelchair, and I have a lot of love and admiration for the Denver Health. Those orthopedic surgeons down there have done a tremendous job for me, and the physical therapist. But regardless what medical clinic I go into, even the South Street Clinic, the pharmacy there, they're good to me. It's very rare that you ever hear anybody speaking in English. And it's got to be running a bearing on our tax system.
It is in a lot of ways. Schools as well. Schools having to spend millions of dollars on ESL. That became an emergency appropriation last year down at the Colorado State Capitol. Barb Kirkmeyer was on this going, it is a constitutional requirement that any child in America, legal or illegal, has to be educated. Therefore, we have to spend tax dollars on them. That's where I think you need to weigh all this, right? A previous caller said, look, they're the ones that provide the cheap labor. These are the ones that are doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Okay. I don't disagree with you on that, but just because they do that, you got to also look at all the costs associated and figure out if this is the right thing for this country. And, another text message in here was pointing out, we got a text message from an anchor baby saying that I didn't think it was right growing up this way, that my parents were telling me to follow all the other rules in my life when I knew they didn't follow the rules to get here in the first place, had me here. He hates the concept. I find that interesting as well. Kenton, Denver, great call. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show. Kenton's line is open, by the way, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115.
Now, Jeff, I'm going to make this a little bit awkward, and then I'm going to talk to everybody about Wound Care Associates of Colorado, because you were just outlining the idea of subject to the jurisdiction thereof. If those illegal immigrants and such, we don't feel they're subject to the jurisdiction thereof, means we got to let Laken Riley's killer go. We'll chew on that in a second. I want to talk to you about my friends, Wound Care Associates of Colorado, brand new advertiser to the station. And here's the deal. You know that ignoring the problem doesn't fix the problem. Joe Biden and the past administration learned that about immigration, didn't they? Yeah. Ignoring a wound, a cut that you don't think is a big deal can turn into a very big deal, because torn skin and tissue is the perfect place for germs, dirt, bacteria to get into your body. You've got a slow healing cut, or someone in your family does, a diabetic ulcer, pressure sores. They can be incredibly challenging to manage and impact your quality of life. In fact, it seems strange, but it can even lead to death. That's why I want to talk to you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado, because Jennifer, who started it, had that experience in her life. Her uncle had some comorbidities, some diabetes and some neuropathy. This had a small cut between his toes on his foot. It got infected. The infection spread pretty quickly. Soon, the uncle had to have his foot amputated, but the infection had got too far into his body already. He passed away 3 days later, simply because of a cut on his foot. So that's why I want you to talk to Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They have expert wound care professionals that are come directly to your home. No more worrying about transportation or waiting at the clinic. The Wound Care Associates of Colorado's skilled nurses come into the comfort, privacy of your own home to add compassionate, comprehensive care. They assess your wound, they develop a personalized treatment plan, and they'll provide all the necessary care you need to heal that wound that just doesn't seem like it's going to go away. It's expert care. Again, in the comfort and privacy of your own home, it's a tailored care plan that will address your specific needs to make sure that wound heals. It'll reduce the risk of complications and promote faster healing. Too many wound care facilities out there are just trying to maintain where you are. They don't want the wound to get worse, but they damn sure don't want it to get better. That's different with Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Check them out at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. They want to make sure that wound is fixed, that it heals, not that it's just maintained. If you or a loved one is struggling with a chronic wound, visit coloradowound.com for more information and schedule your in-home visit today. coloradowound.com. And when you reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it helps us out and they're great. They can make a difference in your life if you have someone suffering from that. So please reach out if you can.
Great to hear, Bill. What does that mean, subject to the jurisdiction thereof? Billy's saying, well, if we take that in one direction, it could mean that Laken Riley's killer could be set free. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to hear your perspective on that. Give us a call. Phone lines are lighting up, 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking anchor babies, birthright citizenship, Amendment 14, the trade-offs between cheap labor and social costs, all of it around illegal immigration. Let's go to the phone lines. Mark, Westminster. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
How you doing, you guys?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. I think that there's a lot of truth in the thing that many people won't do the jobs that immigrants do, but there's a huge amount going through the hospital situations with care and the Denver illegal immigrant costs, that if you really could accurately compare that, I think that'd tell a more accurate story. Doesn't mean that that's going to be the tipping balance or anything else, but the way this comes, if you say somebody works in a field and picks a crate of lettuce, then somebody gets brain surgery. Not that that's the way it is. I don't mean to imply it that simply, because that's not true, and that doesn't help the debate any.
But that's fair. We can use it as an example. Yeah, absolutely. Continue.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's put carefully and fairly, there's got to be a way to moderate this out and make it work.
Yeah.
Mark, there used to be a time where people would come here, work, and go home.
Yeah.
I wish we'd do that again.
There's, and I don't see, especially in the ag community, that being that big of a problem. But somehow around the 90s and early 2000s, people were like, wait, social programs, welfare, medical care. I'm not going home.
But part of that also at the time in the 90s was immigration. Yeah, it can be fixed.
Yeah,
Continue.
if this can be put together carefully and not racially bigoted or not socially, giveaway, if this can be put together right, it can be a great blessing. But if it's not done right, it would just be a horrible curse.
Now, Mark, I got a question for you. Do you think this change in our immigration laws, or even in the 14th Amendment, should be done through presidential edict or through the legislative process? If you said, "Hey guys, that would be
legislative,"
I agree with you, man.
It should be through legislative.
Yeah, if it's a good idea, it can stand on its own.
Trump is basically, he's throwing out some things to eat up the resources of the left and try to make them chase wind.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because he's going to lose this. He's going to lose.
You think at the U.S. Supreme Court he'll lose this?
Yeah, I do. Because, like Billy says, if we don't have jurisdiction, then you have to let Riley, that girl, what was her name?
Yeah. That's not true. I totally disagree with this. The reason that we stepped in to prosecute the person that killed Laken Riley was not because subject to the jurisdiction thereof of the guy that killed her, to protect the rights of Laken Riley, who was an American citizen. That's why the United States government had the right to step in there.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying in the end result, but I'm saying what we got to have, if we don't have jurisdiction over him, we got nothing.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem, is you have nothing to charge him with.
I know what you're saying, Jeff. I agree.
Jurisdiction has to do with Laken Riley and the fact that he's on our ground.
Yeah.
In the United States.
Subject to jurisdiction.
Yep, exactly.
I sound like I'm
to prosecute him.
I'm much more
to arrest them
on Jeff's side than I am Bill, but you got to go through this carefully. Bill's going to support what Jeff wants.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes, but if he can fix this immigration thing and get this together, God, what a great thing it could be for both Mexico and the United States.
Mark, I appreciate the call, man, and I hope you call this call again. I agree with you 110%. I don't want Donald Trump to fail on changing our immigration system. I've been yelling for a while that we need to change it, and I agree with you. While I disagree with Donald Trump on many of his things, I agree that if he can fix the immigration problems that we have, I will applaud it. I will stand up and give him a standing ovation. Mark, thanks for the call, man.
Great call. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Are the public schools trying to turn your kids trans? We'll talk about it next.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, January 23rd. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump is your president. Let's get after it. We've got a whole hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Erin Lee's going to join us along with her attorney, Brad Bergford, as we dive into Lee v. Pooter. And this is a court case challenging what the Pooter School District did to parents, essentially trying to trans kids without their knowledge. We'll get into this and more. By the way, she's being represented by America First Policy Institute, which includes, at one point, Pam Bondi, the new or soon-to-be Attorney General. So fascinating conversation coming up about what schools here in Colorado are doing to try to trans kids. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 16 degrees and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 32. Our top story, CNN laying off about 210 employees, tells you everything you need to know. A key procedural vote to move forward the nomination of Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary is set for this afternoon. However, it's unknown if the Senate will vote to confirm him today or not. It comes as multiple confirmation votes are taking place on Capitol Hill today for DJT's cabinet picks. A Senate committee approved Doug Collins' nomination to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs, with it now being moved to the floor. The president is hinting at changes coming to FEMA. 47 said all the agency does is complicate things and that it hasn't done its job over the last 4 years. He said, unless you have certain types of leadership, FEMA just gets in the way. Trump on Fox last night and says Biden's preemptive pardons are horrible, and after he was attacked in the courts the past 4 years, it's been extremely difficult for him and by would-be assassins working for who knows.
I went through 4 years of hell by the scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won, but I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that.
And the J6ers who were pardoned by Trump have families who have just horrible stories. Nice job, commies, lefties, globalists.
Families have lost everything. Their husbands, the fathers, the breadwinners have been taken from them and put in prison unlawfully for many years for the simplest of infractions. What they do is it's called diesel therapy, so you can't settle. So what they'll do is when they first picked my son up on January 16, 2021, they scooped him up and then they started taking him from prison to prison. Spent 202 days down in the bowels of the D.C. prison. The conditions there are so egregious. He was actually sifting water through a sock because there's so much rust in the bottom of that prison that you can't drink the water. And they would lay them on a cot. They had lights. This was like Vietnam, where they had lights on all the time. You had 2 blankets. They call them suicide blankets, and you just laid them on a basically a block, and you didn't even have a mattress. So and then what they do as soon as you start to get communications with your attorneys and your family, they scoop you up and they take you to another prison.
Yeah, thank God they're free after that FBI guided tour of the White House. New York Yankees legend Mariano Rivera and his wife are facing allegations in connection with a child sexual assault lawsuit. It accuses Rivera and his wife Clara of covering up the sexual abuse of a minor at their home and at a summer camp connected to their church. The suit claims that instead of supporting the alleged victim, Rivera and his wife both intimidated the young girl into staying silent. The head of NATO says he's very happy with President Trump's threat to impose more sanctions on Russia if it doesn't end the war in Ukraine soon. Secretary General Mark Rutte said that he was happy with Trump's position. Colorado Rep. Ryan Gonzalez working on a bill to repeal the cage-free eggs mandate. Gonzalez on with Jeff and Billy last hour and explaining common sense. The cage-free eggs mandate hurts low-income people and families in Colorado.
It's not about animal welfare. It's about chicken welfare. And we shouldn't be prioritizing chicken welfare over the needs of our people, especially low-income people who are struggling to put food on the table, single parents who have, more than one kid or just have a child alone. It adds up. And so a lot of people are complaining about the cost of eggs. You hear it, in conversations. You hear it at the store. You hear it everywhere. It's just becoming increasingly unaffordable. So my bill is looking to repeal that. And so I actually got all the House Republicans and most of the Senate Republicans to sign onto the bill so we can stand in support of our community and see if we can get these prices down.
College hoops last night, CSU over Boise State, 75-72 in a big game. The Kings over the Nuggets. The Kings at the Nuggets tonight. And the Jets over the Avalanche last night, 3-2 in the NHL. It's 13 in Arvada, 14 in Aurora, 16 in Denver. It's Thursday morning. Jeff and Billy continue.
Personally, I am a man. As
Okay.
people say cis man.
Good,
There are people there who, they say they're
Me too. I'm
gender
a man.
neutral.
Well,
You are a man.
always.
Yes.
Blake Olson,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
News Talk 710. KNUS.
It'll be a quiet day here in Denver and along the Front Range, just chilly. Temperatures will reach the lower to mid-30s under partly cloudy skies, clear in teens tonight. Briefly warmer Friday. Could sneak into the lower to mid-40s. However, Friday night, a cold front comes in, lows mid-teens. Late Friday night, snow showers developing. Then a good chance of snow Saturday. With lingering light snow into Saturday night, colder. There's going to be some snow accumulations from late Friday night through Saturday night. Low Saturday night, single digits. Highs only 20s Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, imagine sending your child to an art club and all of a sudden they're pushing the school itself is pushing this gender ideology, and your kid starts to ask questions, all that stuff. This is what one mom up in northern Colorado had to deal with. Erin Lee, powerful film. If you ever want to go get the details on the story, go to artclubmovie.com. You can download to watch it there. But now she's suing the school district. And they had oral arguments earlier this week. She's joining us along with her attorney, Brad Bergford. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
So give us an update on where this case is and what you're suing for, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick Cliff Notes reminder of what our family went through. It was back in May of 2021. As you mentioned, my daughter was recruited into a gender and sexuality club that was disguised as an art club to her and to us, where outside presenters who were not vetted were brought in to talk about polyamory, suicide, told the kids if you're not fully comfortable in your biological sex, that means you're transgender. And they heavily emphasized, don't tell your parents. The art teacher even pulled my daughter aside and said, remember, you don't have to tell your mom about this. And after going public with our story about a year after the incident, once we got our daughter through a very dark year of confusion and depression and suicidality, we had many other families come forward. And one of those families, their daughter followed the rule that what you hear in here, keep in here, and your parents aren't safe. And about 6 months after the club, she actually attempted suicide and almost lost her life. And it wasn't until another 6 months later when we went public that they started to connect the dots and realized that they had been lied to and that their little girl had been harmed. And so both of these families have joined together in this lawsuit against the Poudre School District for grossly violating our parental rights to know what's happening with our child and to be involved and be able to make decisions in their best interest. We were very intentionally left in the dark and lied to by the school district. So we're lucky to have Brad and America First Policy Institute representing us against the school district.
Now, I want to ask Brad Bergford, who is an attorney that's along with you. And by the way, you can see them both at x.com /Jeff Hunt or on YouTube or 710K. And yes, all the channels, you can actually see the interview there, not just listen to it on the radio. But Brad, I want to ask you, what constitutional standing do the parents have? We've tried to introduce parental bill of rights into this state. So tell us what you're kind of charging the school has essentially violated.
Well, before the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, Jeff, is one question is very simple. Does discouragement of disclosure of trans status violate the 14th Amendment, the parents' rights thereunder? So the parents have children who've been harmed by the policies, and the Supreme Court has affirmed again and again that there's a constitutional dimension to the right of parents to direct the upbringing of their children. They said it is cardinal with us that the custody, care, and nurture of the child reside first in the parents whose primary function and freedom include preparation for obligations the state can neither supply nor hinder.
That seems pretty clear cut, but is that's in constitutional precedent. That's not actually written into our Constitution, right? From my understanding, I'm not a lawyer.
Right. No, and we're proceeding on 14th Amendment grounds under the substantive due process of the 14th Amendment.
So tell us where we are in this process and then what happened this week.
Well, the trial court for the Federal District of Colorado, the Federal District Court for the District of Colorado, dismissed the case on procedural grounds under Rule 12b-6, has to do with the pleading standard. We disagree with that ruling, but what we did before it was dismissed is we requested leave of the court to amend the complaint in the hope that an amended complaint would more clearly set forth the issues for the court. The court denied our request for leave to amend and dismiss the case, so we have appealed that to the 10th Circuit. And I think the denial was maybe back in May of 2024. And so we had an argument this week at the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, very interesting argument. In fact, 10th Circuit did a great job. The panel that we had did a great job hearing the arguments, digesting, understanding the arguments, asking questions that showed that they understand the arguments of both sides. And we're really optimistic. I'm more optimistic now than I was before oral argument that we're going to have an outcome that reflects the constitutional dimension to the right of parents to direct the upbringing of their children that the Supremes have talked about in prior case law.
Talking with Aaron Lee and Brad Bergford with regards to the court case Lee v. Pooter, and this is a challenge to the Pooter School District. Now, what's the arguments coming from the school side?
Aaron, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, it changed over the course of argument on Tuesday from my perspective that, first they basically said that we were just overbearing parents who wanted to dictate all of curriculum as though it was a smorgasbord. Then it shifted to, well, these are just rogue employees. When that was disproven, it shifted to, well, who says parents have constitutional rights? And then finally it landed on, well, we don't really believe all of the allegations of these parents. And I'll just point out that nothing within our complaint cannot be proven by receipts, by public records. And, it's interesting how the argument evolved. And, my belief is that it's really indefensible. It's clear that parents have a fundamental right to know what's happening with our children. And we should not be presumed guilty until proven innocent. And that's really what is happening, not just in our case, but in school districts across the state and across the country. They are operating as though they believe they know what's best for our children and that they can act in their best interest without us knowing what's happening or being involved. And I'll just say one of the most heartening parts of Tuesday was that the courtroom was completely packed. It was, standing room only, with families like ours who have had their children harmed by gender ideology and by secrecy in the classroom. In fact, most of the parents that were there have stories that are even more sad than ours. There was dads who've completely lost custody of their children. There was parents of 10 and 11-year-olds who are trapped in this idea that they've been born in the wrong body because their parents were excluded from these conversations. And so it just really was a reminder to me that this is not a fight just for our families, the plaintiffs on the suit, but this is a fight for all parents who have this right to be involved and know what's happening.
Well, you often get the pushback, and I remember hearing it down at the Colorado State Capitol when we were testifying against a lot of the stuff, is that, look, these kids are born trans or they're born into the LGBT community, and their parents, their oppressive parents, are preventing them from being able to live out their authentic, true selves. This contributes to depression, suicidality. And so these teachers, these school administrators are stepping in to try to provide that hope that their parents and their homes are not going to give them. What's your response to that line of argument that we hear so often from the progressive left?
Yeah, what a dangerous tenet. My experience has been in talking with now thousands of families, because I've been public about our story for about 3 years now, and I am bombarded with families like ours who've been through a similar situation. And in every single case, the parents are supportive, and their children's mental health decline has been a result of this mindset that they can't trust their parents. Or, like my daughter was told that being trans makes you more likely to commit suicide. It's this suicide myth. And they essentially plant this idea in kids' heads. And we've seen kids lose their lives as a result of this, as was the case in the families on our case. One girl attempted suicide. My daughter contemplated it. And these ideas were planted in their head. And they were not a result of our non-acceptance. Because in every case, the parents that I work with are loving and they want what's best for their children. And so it's a dangerous myth that is being spread and used as justification for this secrecy, this suicide myth.
Talking with Aaron Lee and Brad Bergford with the court case Lee v. Pooter. So, Brad, what is the hope that you get out of this? What is the victory that you all are seeking to achieve?
Well, we simply want parents' rights to make decisions that are in the best interest of their children, which is the presumption that the Supreme Court has recognized repeatedly, including in Troxel versus Granville, saying that fit parents are presumed to act in the best interest of their children, and therefore they have the right to make decisions on important issues. And so what we're hoping for is to simply have that right recognized in this particular context. Schools all over the state, and indeed all over the country, in large school districts and small school districts alike, are suffering from this pernicious concept that parents don't get to make these decisions. Once you turn your child over to the school, the child is the school's. And if they walk in those doors at the beginning of the school day, and the parents' rights have substantially just been treated as though they don't exist, when in reality we know they do exist, and we're just asking the courts to recognize that, because it's essential that parents have the opportunity to raise their kids according to these principles, which the Supreme Court has repeatedly recognized. Nothing about putting your kids into public school abrogates the right of a parent to direct the care, control, upbringing, and education of their child.
Aaron Lee and lawyer Brad Bergford joining Jeff and Bill live. We're talking about the case Lee versus the Pooter School District. Aaron Lee's been on with us before. She has accurately outlined how her daughter was sucked into an art class or an art group. It was an extracurricular activity, and it was an art club. And basically, that was really just a sexual identity club that was hidden under a different name. They're challenging the school district's rule on that. Now, Mr. Bergford, I want to talk to you. Where is that line drawn as far as, in your opinion, where the parents can direct the child's education? An example I would go to is maybe someone who are New Earth creationists. Can they opt their kids out of science class?
Well, in Colorado, there are certain opt-out rights that are recognized statutorily. The one that you have just identified, or the situation you just identified, it isn't one of the ones that's statutorily recognized. The sexual education statute has the opt-out provision for gender and sexuality, lessons in schools. But this isn't a hard line to draw either. Where there's an important issue, if your kid gets a splinter in school, does the school have to call and tell you? Probably not, unless it's, a crazy splinter. But, at some point, every parent, every rational person knows parents need to know about this. If you're telling children important things about sexuality, about their identity, about their gender, about what's safe, about the fact that they might commit suicide, I think that's something that everybody would say, yeah, let's involve the parents. And the real question is, why is the school trying not to involve parents? Why is the school trying to shut parents out of these decisions? There must be a reason. This is clearly an important issue. And the very fact that everybody agrees this is important stuff is what justifies and legitimizes the idea that parents should be told before these sorts of things are talked about with children.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And shout out to my co-host, Jeff Hunt. It was him that helped make sure that those charter school parents had the ability to opt out. I think Aaron Lee addressed that very great, the last point you were making, about parents having the right to know because they should not be presumed guilty. But let's go back to the idea of the parents directing the care of the child. Didn't you just agree that there are limits on it? That is not a universal, because you outlined correctly that the New Earth creationists, while it may be very, very important to the lifestyle, the belief system, and the care of their child, they don't necessarily have that right. So there are limits, aren't there, on how much the parent can direct the child's education?
Well, we're not talking about directing. We're talking about knowing. We're talking about, is the school going to hide this from parents? Is the school going to tell children that what we're telling you about your sexuality can be our little secret? That's really not a close call. And what we're also not doing is trying to tell the schools what they can do with their curricula. We're just talking about letting parents know what's going on, because parents can't exercise their rights to upbring their children without knowing what's happening and what issues they need to become involved with.
Oh, Mr. Burkford, I agree with you 110% on that one, specifically because the school district was calling this an art club, an art class, an extracurricular art organization. And that wasn't what was happening inside the room. I believe you're correct. And I believe Aaron's correct that they mislabeled this on purpose in order to keep it hidden. I believe that when you guys are in court, that is going to be one of the major fulcrums on the decision in this case.
Yeah, a good example that I give, Bill, is, I have two younger children, now 4 and 10 years old. And when this happened with us, we were thrown for a loop. We were completely caught off guard and put in a position where we had to prepare our other kids for this kind of thing happening. And one of the things that I told my very young children at the time was that safe adults don't ask you to keep secrets. It doesn't matter if they teach you your ABCs and then say, don't tell your parents that we taught you this. That's not okay. It's never okay. But it's especially harmful in this instance of discussion of sexuality and identity and suicidality and things like polyamory and connecting with people online. That a line was absolutely crossed. But secrecy in any circumstance is not okay. And I caution all parents to have those conversations with your children, because, again, this is not an isolated incident. And I know thousands of parents in a very similar situation now.
Well, Aaron, I got to tell you, you need to make that a T-shirt. You need to put that on a billboard. You need to make that the slogan: safe adults don't ask children to keep secrets, right, regardless of what those secrets are. High five. Nicely done. You're absolutely 110% correct.
But I think part of the challenge that we're facing culturally, Bill, on this is, and Aaron and Brad, would happy to get your perspective on this, is like, I was publicly school educated. Now, you were private Catholic.
Yeah, I was.
But I think most people think school's still kind of like the 80s, like Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club, yeah, you can push the boundaries a little bit, but you drop your kids off, you go to work, things are okay. Everybody comes home, we have dinner, you got sports in the afternoon. That's what I think most people want. But as we've seen, and thank God for things like Libs of TikTok that have been showcasing, is that there are some folks, and we're not by no means disparaging all teachers here, but you end up with some teachers that see this as an opportunity to indoctrinate kids, push their agenda upon kids. That's not right. That needs to be addressed, and parental notification on these issues needs to be protected. Aaron, Brad, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I can really speak to that. I don't talk about it a lot, but my undergrad is in elementary education. And so I was trained as a teacher in the early 2000s. And we talk about it a little bit in the film art club. But when this happened to our daughter, I was so confused about what to do. I thought, oh, maybe this could be real. Maybe she's transgender. I had been programmed through my higher education in my early career to think that the kind, considerate, empathetic thing to do is to always believe the child, always go along with it, and be okay with leaving parents in the dark. And obviously, it being personal really changed my perspective in talking to so many other parents. But I think we've got a real issue in the higher education system that's been happening for decades, and now we're seeing the results of it. And I get branded as anti-education, anti-teacher a lot. I'm not. I used to be one. I think that we now have an environment where teachers are practicing what I call toxic empathy, toxic kindness, where they've been trained and led to believe that they're doing the right thing. And it's very plain to see that they're not, that it's never okay to encourage secrecy between children and their parents.
Talking with Aaron Lee and Brad Bergford with regards to Lee v. Pooter, which is a case that's working its way through the courts now. All right, so Brad, where does this go? What's next? Could this go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court? Give us the kind of game plan on this.
You bet. I hesitate to say that there's exactly a game plan, but I will tell you that it's hard for me to imagine that the losing side in this case will not appeal because our children are dear to us, and their principles and their way of teaching, shall we say, is dear to the schools. And the schools are all doing this. They're not letting go of this easily. So if we have a favorable ruling, we will go through. This is on the motion to dismiss, so then we'll go through the whole trial process. It's possible that something will be appealed from what happens in trial. I would anticipate that something would be. Or could be anyway, and that at some point, I think there could be a cert petition to the Supreme Court. Of course, not very many of those get granted as a percentage of those that are submitted. So getting into the Supreme Court is really a big deal in and of itself. But the bottom line is these parents are here to protect their children, and they understand the dimension of their protection. It includes, all the children in Colorado schools, because if they can protect their children and require schools to tell them about and get the court to say, yeah, the school's got to at least tell parents what's happening. I mean, that's really, why would that be so hard? There's a part of me that's astonished that we're even having this discussion, that schools would think it reasonable to exclude parents from knowing what's going on with their children, especially on important issues. But this is not one that's going to be let go of lightly, and it really will affect all the children in Colorado one way or the other.
We're talking with Aaron Lee and Brad Bergford on the important case, Lee v. Pooter. Continue to watch this. Look, Colorado has... Sometimes I feel like this is our role in the national, on the national level, is you've got Jack Phillips and Lori Smith. You got these cases that work their way out of Colorado because we're so dominated by this progressive ideology that is driving constitutional challenges. Fortunately, we eventually win, but it takes very brave people like Jack Phillips, Lori Smith, and now Aaron Lee and other families joining in to fight for what is right. Guys, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill show this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We'll continue to track this case. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. You're invited into the conversation. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Hey, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Colorado Christian University. Do you know a high school student who has a passion for engaging in culture and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics, with an emphasis in public policy, prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Maricopa County's new election recorder, Justin Heap, just removed more than 240,000 ineligible names from the voter rolls. Heap saying that the voters who elected me have spoken loud and clear. I promise to make cleaning the voter rolls a day one priority in this office, and we're taking swift action to deliver on that promise. According to the recorder's office, the names had been placed on the inactive voter list and were given multiple notices to update their registration information. However, they didn't respond for 2 election cycles or 4 years. Heap says this order complies with Arizona state law. Evacuations have been ordered for remote communities close to a new wildfire in the mountains north of Los Angeles. The Hughes fire broke out late Wednesday morning and quickly burned through hundreds of acres of trees and brush, sending up a huge plume of dark smoke near the Lake Castaic area. The fire comes as parched Southern California could get some badly needed rain this weekend. But even a small amount of precipitation could create new challenges like toxic ash runoff. Meanwhile, red flag warnings for critical fire danger are in effect through today. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson announcing that a new House subcommittee has been created to investigate the events of what happened before and after January 6th. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Are Colorado schools trying to secretly trans your kids? Well, Aaron Lee and some other parents up in the Poudre School District seem to have some evidence to that, and they're going to court. Great conversation with Aaron Lee and her attorney. I want to get to the phone lines here. Speaking of great attorneys out there, if you've ever met Dan Kaplis, you know he's a solid guy, solid on the values. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you says a lot about you to everybody involved in an injury case. But more than just being a great guy, Dan is a real winner in the courtroom. Listen to this. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted. They're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, Caplis Law.com. Let's go to Jim Sterling. Good morning, Jim. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, and thank you, guys. I appreciate you. You know, I think that teachers need their head examined. I think they need a psychology test for themselves because you need to let kids be the kids. You cannot go into and try to indoctrinate them the way you think in life. It's one thing to teach math, science, and history. Now, it's a different thing when you're allowing that to be involved in the schools to where they're teaching them this whole sexual thing about who, what gender, da-da-da. Let them be who they're going to be. They'll figure that out later on in life.
But Jim, they are freeing these kids from the oppression of old ways of thinking, their progress, they're liberal. They're moving these kids forward and freeing their minds. You've watched,
yippee-ki-yay. I ain't on no high horse.
You've watched these libs for TikToks. They believe they're on a moral mission. They believe they're on a moral mission.
No, elaborate on that a little more because look, they're on a moral mission.
Oh yeah. No, they are motivated. They believe they're helping these kids by giving them.
You really think so?
Oh,
really
I know
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they're so happy. You watch these live for TikTok videos that they're going to bring about this new way of thinking about gender to the kids, and the kids are going to pick which gender they're going to be on any daily basis. They see that as a good thing. A moral thing.
How can you be right in your own head to think that way?
Well, that's what
it's hard for us to grasp or wrap our mind around. It's hard for me personally and everybody I know.
Well, and part of the critique is that they're failing on the basics, right? These have become just progressive indoctrination factories. It's somewhere around 20% of middle school 8th graders in Denver public schools are proficient at reading and writing. So they're getting the basics wrong. But it's like what the Bible says. When you move away from truth, people do what's right in their own eyes. And that's what you get with a lot of these teachers. And it's got up to parents and it's up to the electorate who elects school board leaders to step in and say, this is not the place where you want to join a little LGBTQ club and have it.
Go ahead on your spare time, like a volleyball team on the outside. Just take that amongst yourself as parents, but don't drag it into the schools with 120 kids in a class.
Jim, sure appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Now, here's a question just because I like debate. We don't want LGBTQ in the classroom, but I want the 10 Commandments in the classroom.
Oh, that's interesting.
Am I forcing it upon people?
That's interesting. Yeah, especially if you're saying this is the adherence as far as where our founding fathers found our laws and our principles. That is interesting, especially inside the confines of a public school.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you express those differently, those different ideas? Who should we go for here, Billy? We've
tell you
got
what,
full lines.
Let's do
just about.
Mary. Let's go, Mary. Now we're going to go back to immigration for Mary, but she's been waiting longest. So let's
All right,
do that one. And then we
Mary,
get to Nick.
good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. I think that what I wanted to go back to is the anchor
babies
issue.
Yeah. What's on your mind about
And
it?
one of the things that I feel that many of your listeners who are my age, close to 80, we have lived through, experienced, and watched historical changes in this country. And we have knowledge, and that maybe the younger generation is clueless about. We have been fighting this birth anchor baby issue for over 50 years, but the legislature has not wanted to even address it. They want anchor babies. And, to your point, Bill, I believe that what Trump does is bring issues like this to light that will finally get some attention and get addressed. I don't know it's about him wanting to be the author of changing the Constitution. I believe he's bringing it. I remember anchor baby issues 50 years ago, along with that English should be legislated to be the language of the country when it comes to commerce. And that's going to be another issue if we keep bringing all these different people in from different countries. If you talk about Canada, does that mean we have to add French?
Yeah, and they do.
In other words,
yeah.
I'm just saying that I believe these issues have been simmering for a long time and will not get to where it needs to be. That is to be the Supreme Court to be able to legislate it, and then with the pressure on our legislature to actually make changes.
Now, I got a question for you, Mary. Mary, I got a question for you right there. You talked about getting it to the Supreme Court and then talking about legislature. Shouldn't it go the other direction? If this is such a big deal, is Donald Trump trying to ask the Supreme Court to issue new law from the bench, which is something that conservatives have been screaming about for years? That these activist judges. Yeah. So are we just saying that Donald Trump now is looking for an activist Supreme Court to change the laws in the way that he wants it to?
I don't know how it needs to go. I'm not that smart. I guess I'm looking at that somehow this needs to be addressed. It should have been 50 years ago when it first started. And there's those of us activists, whatever you want to call it, we're screaming and saying, and we shouldn't be doing anchor babies.
Yeah. Mary, to your point, I think legislatively would be the best process. I agree with you on that. Look, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. It's a new year. How about a new you? Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You will feel more confident and more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there's no one I trust more in hair restoration. Their simple FUE treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. Simply put, Advanced Hair's exceptional standard of care makes your comfort and your results their top priority. So celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. Discover what meeting your resolution could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Absolutely fire show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. And if you're ever hurt in an injury case, you got to call my friend Dan Kaplis with Dan Kaplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Pro-life, pro-family, pro-America, pro-everything. He's just a great guy. He's a great conservative. That matters because he reflects our values. So if you're hurt in an injury case, you want to hire somebody that's going to send the right message to everybody involved in the case. But more than just being a great guy, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history, the biggest one. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. You might say, I can't afford this guy. Don't worry. He accepts injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551 or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankapleslaw.com. Tomorrow, Scott Bottoms on the show. He and Billy are going to go at it because Scott is running for governor.
This will be fun.
That's going to be, he's
I like Scott a
texted
lot.
me. He's looking forward to it. This is the Rocky Mountain Rumble you've been waiting for.
Love me some Scott Bottoms. He's great. He's a great dude.
You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, don't miss tomorrow. This is 710 KNUS.